Good evening and welcome. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council meeting on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. We'll have an invocation from Pastor David Jackson with Hilltop Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Sarah Messmer with Hospice of Havasu. Pastor.
Let's pray. Jesus, just thank you for blessing us. Thank you, Jesus, for what you've done for us, for dying on the cross, rising again. And we come before you before we make any decisions for our city, and we look for your wisdom. We look for your knowledge, and we pray that you pour it upon us. And we make decisions to benefit our community and unity. And we pray for these men and women who stand before us in service, that you bless them and their families. And we thank you for their service to us and our community. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and welcome, Sarah. If you'd like to share a little bit about Hospice of Havasu with us.
Thank you, members of the council, mayor, and city staff. My name is Sarah Messmer. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at Hospice of Havasu. And thank you all for the opportunity to visit a little bit about Hospice of Havasu with you tonight. We have an exciting anniversary coming up. In July, our resale store is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Yes, it deserves a round of applause. We want to thank our donors for choosing to donate to Hospice of Havasu. And we also want to thank our shoppers for choosing to shop at the Hospice of Havasu resale store. The proceeds from the resale store support the Hospice of Havasu mission of providing compassion and care with dignity. For over 44 years, Hospice of Havasu has existed to provide end-of-life care for community members in Lake Havasu City and Bullhead City that are at the end stage of an advanced illness. As a 501c3 not-for-profit hospice agency, Hospice of Havasu cares for those that are medically eligible, regardless of their ability to pay or their insurance status. Also, as a not-for-profit agency, we're able to offer other programs as well, such as social workers from our Transitions program offer guidance, support, and community resources for people not medically eligible for hospice care, but are living with the changes and challenges associated with declining health. As a not-for-profit, we are also able to offer grief support, individual grief support, and community grief support groups. Choosing a hospice is one of the most important decisions a family will ever make, and it often happens during an already stressful and emotional time. There are at least 10 other hospice companies in Lake Havasu City, so it's important to be able to be an informed consumer and to know the hospice you choose is your choice. Anyone can call Hospice of Havasu to learn more about any of the programs that I mentioned. And for more information, you can also follow us on Facebook and visit our website. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about Hospice of Havasu with you all tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for all that you do for our residents. Item 4 on the agenda is our roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here.
Jenny Koch.
Here.
Jim Dolan. Cameron Moses.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Vice Mayor David Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of items for separate discussion?
Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses, a second from Councilmember Koch. We are ready to vote.
Councilmember Dolan, your vote, please.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is our correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 6.1 is the fiscal year 25-26 October through December report from the Western Arizona Humane Society. Chief Sterling included this in our packet, and it's available on our website for citizens to review as well. Item 6.2 is to announce our vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, this item is to announce vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The city currently has one alternate member vacancy on the Board of Adjustment and one regular member vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Anyone interested can submit an application to the city clerk's office. The deadline to submit applications is Friday, April 24th by 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.3 is our city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. I do have a lot to share tonight, including an update from Public Works on ongoing projects at the end of the report. I'd like to start off by taking a moment to recognize Councilmember Cameron Moses. Cameron was recently honored as the Future Business Leaders of America Person of the Year for the state of Arizona. He attended the opening ceremony of the statewide competition where he accepted this well-deserved award. Councilmember Moses, thank you for your continued support of young professionals and for representing our community so well. I'd also like to recognize our very own Gabby Vera, who was recognized as an outstanding achievement within our organization. Our Parks and Recreation Director, Gabby Vera, was named as a recipient of the Authentic Leader Award by Women in Parks and Recreation. This is a national recognition, and I should be very, very proud of this honor. This honor reflects her leadership in fostering trust, inclusivity, and empowerment, and her commitment to creating meaningful experiences for our community. Congratulations to you, Gabby. We're very proud of you and everything you've accomplished for our employees and, of course, for our residents. Yeah, very good. On Saturday, March 28th, members of the police department hosted a Top Gun shooting competition. This competition allowed both sworn and civilian personnel to participate in a shooting event that incorporated paper, steel, and moving targets. At the end of the day, Officer Garrett Kemp and Police Service Assistant Nolan Crane came out on top. They both displayed exceptional marksmanship throughout both stages of the competition. And congratulations to you both, Officer Kemp and Police Service Assistant Nolan Crane. On Sunday, March 29th, Lake Havasu City was proud to honor and welcome home our Vietnam War veterans during a special event held at the Friends of the Fair Rodeo Grounds at Sarah Park. This meaningful event was made possible through the collaboration of numerous local organizations and Vietnam Veteran Commemoration Committee, bringing our community together in a heartfelt show of gratitude and recognition. In attendance were Congressman Paul Gosar, his assistant Penny Pugh, Supervisor Sonny Borelli, Mayor Cal Sheehy, Vice Mayor David Diaz, Council members Nancy Campbell, Jenny Koch, and Cameron Moses, along with city staff and members of the community. It was an honor to be in attendance. On Saturday, April 4th, the Marine Corps League Detachment, I'll take a sip here and see if I can speak clearly. The Marine Corps League Detachment 757 and its auxiliary held their annual memorial at Wheeler Park, honoring members who passed away over the past year. Those recognized included Neil Ornstein, James Angle, Clarence D. Hopes, Jerry Burns Sr., August J. Bader, and auxiliary member Kathy Harris. The ceremony featured prayers, a bell tribute, and a three-volley salute, and the playing of taps. Mayor Sheehy, Vice Mayor David Diaz, community members, and city staff, including our community engagement officer Jerry Bracamonte, were all in attendance. And a special thanks to the Marine Corps League and Auxiliary for continuing this very meaningful tradition. On April 11th, the Mojave County Library District's Lake Havasu City Branch hosted the final stop of the Road to 250 Arizona Traveling Museum. Part of Arizona's history and of America 250 and our anniversary this year, the exhibit traveled through all 15 counties and will ultimately be housed at the Arizona State Capitol. The event featured interactive displays, presentations from local and state leaders, voter registration, and a children's activity session, offering a meaningful and engaging look at Arizona and American history. We're lucky to have that stop here in Havasu. We've had several proclamations to recognize, starting with Lake Havasu Cleanup Day, pictured in the top left in honor of Earth Day. Lake Havasu City partnered with local Rotary clubs and other organizations to clean up Highway 95 and show what it looks like when Havasu comes together. Mayor Sheehy proclaimed March 28th as Earth Day in Lake Havasu City, highlighting the importance of protecting our environment. Lake Havasu City recognizes Child Abuse Prevention Month in Lake Havasu by lighting the London Bridge blue to raise awareness. Pictured on the bottom left corner, Mayor Sheehy was joined by Vice Mayor David Diaz, Lake Havasu City Police Department, Victim Advocacy, Haven, Family Resource Center, and Arizona Department of Child Safety. They're holding pinwheels, which symbolize hope and the importance of ensuring every child grows up in a safe and supportive environment. Pictured on the top right, Lake Havasu City recognizes Education and Sharing Day on March 29th, 2026. This proclamation highlights the importance of education as the foundation of a strong community and emphasizes the value of teaching kindness, character, and service to our youth. The Teen Challenge of Arizona played a vital role in combating drug and alcohol abuse with an 80% success rate in helping individuals reclaim their lives and bringing hope and healing to families across Lake Havasu City and Mojave County. Pictured on the right, Mayor Sheehy, Vice Mayor David Diaz, and Councilmember Michelle Lynn attended the annual banquet where they presented a proclamation recognizing March 28th, 2026 as Teen Challenge of Arizona, celebrating 60 years in Lake Havasu City. Reminder that this is the last week for comments for the 2026 general plan, as the 60-day public review period will end on Saturday, April 18th. Since the review period started, the draft has been viewed more than 600 times. Visit publicinput.com /Lake Havasu General Plan, or simply just go to the city's website and there'll be a link there, and it'll take you to the draft general plan, and we're encouraging all comments right now up until Saturday. A few quick reminders. Hey, Ron, if you want to come up and while you're doing that, I'll remind the council and the public that tomorrow, April 15th, in partnership with Lake Havasu Area Chamber of Commerce, we'll host a ribbon cutting for the new We Go Round accessible playground equipment at Rotary Park. So at 12:30, we'll do the ribbon cutting. Our household hazardous waste event will take place on Saturday, April 18th. That will be from 8 a.m. till noon, and that'll be hosted at the Fire Station 2 on Kiowa. And finally, as we head into Desert Storm event that's coming up here on April 23rd through April 25th, I would like to remind everybody to stay safe and plan ahead while we have so many people in town. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Ron Foggen, our Public Works Director, who will talk about some completed projects, some ongoing projects, and some to look forward to here in the near future.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Mayor, Council, Manager Knutson, thank you for the opportunity to really celebrate my team, talk about the amazing things that we are getting done, that we've been working on. Before I even enter into what I have prepared, I just have to say that the Public Works team, what you're not going to see in here is their commitment to safety, their commitment to customer service, their commitment to being great team players. And it's a pleasure to lead a department with individuals that have the attitude of let's get it done and done really exceptionally well. So with that prepared, just a few accomplishments and certainly didn't try to capture all of them. There's so many for a team that's working tirelessly every single day to make things better in our community. So just a few highlights that I want to cover with you. Obviously, the council helped us with a number of these things, and I want to thank the council for their support for what Public Works is doing. Street cut ordinance to better protect street infrastructure. Council just passed that. We're excited to take our streets to a new level where when streets are cut, they're put back and remain really significant part of our road infrastructure without failing. We've started the accreditation process. I think we've talked about that, presented that a few times. We're actually in the process now. Something that we're really excited about is that we were just awarded 2 HERF Exchange Project grants for more than $1 million. These were projects that we were actually going to spend city funds on that we're now going to be able to put those funds towards road maintenance and other important aspects of the streets. So happy to get just over $1 million on the HERF Exchange. We've improved safety dramatically something that is near and dear to my heart, wanting to make sure that all of our employees get home to their families safe and sound, and that we're not spending money on repairing vehicles and property because we made mistakes. We've been working hard on performance measurements, really excited to be able to be data-driven in Public Works instead of just kind of falling from project to project. We're going to make decisions based on data. And really happy to be able to fill two really important positions, our airport manager and our wastewater superintendent. Really, we're able to get exceptional professionals to fill those spots. I want to brag on our engineering team. We've actually brought our design for projects in-house for some of our projects, saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. Designs on our 26, well, frankly, our 25 water main project that's in process right now, as well as the 2026 water main projects designed in-house, our Acoma Boulevard Street overlay design completed in-house, as well as Jamaica Boulevard. We successfully completed an ADEQ stormwater audit, extremely detailed and intensive. Happy that we have that done and out of our way. We also have created a 3-year stormwater public education piece as part of that. And so happy to have a program in place where we are going to educate our citizens and businesses about what actually ends up getting into our lake, our most important resource. The council was listened to and kind enough to approve a really good 2025 WASH management plan, and engineering has also been working diligently to update engineering standard details, something that needed a lot of attention. And then something that we've been working on, we're really passionate about it, the streets division, PCI, making sure that we have proper scoring and we are attacking streets based on data and not just guesswork. So really happy to have our PCI process moving forward. Additionally, we've actually just recently, council was good to approve the 2025 Water Master Plan, very important document as we move forward in designing and maintaining our water system. We've installed 6,000 automated water meters. That's 20% of our water system in 13 months. And that's all in-house, saving the city millions of dollars, and actually much improved on the meter readings that we get. And it actually means that we don't have to have people that go out and actually read these meters. They read them for us, and it's a wonderful project. Council was good to approve a hydro excavator vehicle, which is pictured. This has already saved us hundreds of hours of time in the street and allowed us to get water back on, and businesses and residents back in water much, much faster. And frankly, it's much kinder to our streets and our right-of-way areas. And then I got to brag on the wastewater division. They're cleaning our sewer system 30% a year, which is 20% more than the national average or the best practices for sewer cleaning. This obviously makes our wastewater system much more efficient. We avoid any kind of backups into businesses and residents by doing this work. So really proud of the wastewater team on that. Now, the next few slides are our capital program. I want to point out that our capital program team really is the entire Public Works team working together. But as far as our capital program management goes, Jason Hart and his team are just doing a fantastic job. That's really Jason, who's managing the division, also doing project management, as well as 2 other project managers. And we have a program capital project inspector. So these 4 individuals basically tackling roughly 40 active projects. So I'm not going to spend time going through all of these projects, but just want to highlight some of them and give kudos to the team. City Fuel Facility is a very complex project that was done in-house by our streets and building maintenance team. And it's phenomenal. And the work that they did is professional and it's top notch. Really proud of them for getting that done. Another one that I want to point out is the work that was done for the PD rear parking. That parking lot was a disaster. Went in, it's actually pictured here and is something that we can be really proud of. We actually were also able to extend the parking lot to give some extra parking for specialty vehicles. So really happy with the way that turned out. And then pictured in this as well is the Kiowa Drain 3 project. This section of the Kiowa Drain is where the fastest stormwater happens in the community. About 2,300 cubic feet per second go through this area and have the potential of causing quite a bit of damage. The work that was done in here slows the water way down, makes it much safer. As it gets down, obviously this is the lower part of the wash. As it gets down to the lake, also helps remove sediment. So I'm really proud of the accomplishments of projects that we've been able to get done. As far as we're currently in construction or in the process of wrapping up some projects, just want to point out that the 2025 water main project, when we're all said and done with water mains for fiscal year 26, we will have replaced just over 2 miles of water mains, which is fantastic. Water mains that absolutely needed to be, had a history of breakage. The data showed that, and we're attacking that. Actually, on the agenda for tonight, you have an opportunity to consider, and hope you'll find that our reasoning to do a change order to this and tackle a little bit more is something justified. Also, a very important water source for this community has been the collector well. We refer to it as the horizontal collector well. Some people know it as the rainy day collector well. This well, for a long time, was the major source of water. Now we have diversified, but having this back in service and contributing adds redundancy. Probably water's favorite word, redundancy, to our system. And then the bottom picture that you can see is the new lab building. We're obviously really excited to be able to create new space for our lab and the technicians that work in it. And so we're really excited. The contractor is telling us is going to meet all requirements for the deadline, and we're hoping to be cutting ribbon in mid to late summer on that project. Projects that are being advertised or that are in the near future being constructed. Obviously, the big one on the list, I put a picture of it, and that's our Fire Station 7. 100% plans have been reviewed and are been submitted to the city for their review. And the CMAR is actually gathering bids from subs to be able to move forward with their contract. And we're looking forward to getting a price from them on a not to exceed level in May. So pretty excited that project's moving forward. The community's needed this piece of infrastructure for a long time. And I know that Chief Palafis and his team are looking forward to doing a ribbon cutting and actually getting busy out of this station. The other part of this, just getting ready to start, is you're going to see over the next few years a lot of attention given to the north end wastewater system. We refer to it as the expansion. And so we're redoing some lift stations. In this case, a force main, and then order control at the IPS lift station as well. And then capital projects that are under design. You'll be hearing, obviously, a report tonight on our 60% plan update on the second bridge and roadway, which is a representation shown in this picture. But we're also in design right now on the North Hangar development, which hangars, for anybody that knows anything about the airport, knows that you just can't build enough hangars. So these are will be welcome additions to the airport. We got a grant and are in the process of getting affluent to 3 parks in our community. And then finally, I want to just acknowledge the repaving as for Acoma. That paving project is before you tonight as well. Just really, a lot of projects, really busy. And again, I want to thank my team. I want to thank the council for their support for all this. Frankly, we couldn't do it if you didn't give us the budget and the go forward directives on it. And I want to thank Jess for his leadership. I got Manager Knudsen, sorry. And that concludes accomplishments for Public Works.
Nice job, Mr. Foggin. I appreciate the updates on that too. And I want to second the kudos to the employees within the department that are doing such amazing work. And Deputy Directors Tim Kellett, Bill Young, and then echo the sentiment, Mr. Jason Hart, who is hard at work with 40 active projects within the department. So across all divisions within Public Works, you can obviously we're super busy. I asked Mr. Foggin to give a brief presentation, and obviously that's not possible with all the work that's being performed. So not just being performed, but being performed at a very, very high level. So thank you, Mr. Foggin, for the update. And with that, Mayor, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. We'll move on to item 7, which is our public hearings. Councilmember Moses?
Mayor, can I make a request?
Yes.
I'd like to move up item 7.6 if that's possible.
Move it to?
Either move it to 7.5, 7.4, just move it up a little bit, please.
Okay, so just swap 7.5 and 7.6?
Sure, we can do that.
All right. All right, so we are on our public hearings. During each of the next 6 public hearings, we will hear each item, then we'll open up the public hearing to hear from our community on these different items and be able to take any feedback that you have. There will be a call to the public after our public hearings, and that'll be for anything that's not on the agenda that someone may want to address the council on that is in the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. So we'll start with item 7.1, which is the regional transportation update. Mr. Foggin.
Mayor, council, long time no talk. Sarah, our MPO director, is out of town on personal issues, so she asked me to introduce this item to the council. I'm actually honored to be able to welcome our Kimley Horn team. They're the ones that have been working on our 2050 regional transportation plan. There's been a lot of work that has gone in so far on the plan. I think you'll absolutely see that from their presentation. But I don't want to drag it out and take any of their thunder. So I want to welcome Chris Jonesons and Kristen Faltz, and thank them for all that they're doing. So,
great. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. If this works, perfect. So, quick overview. We'll give you kind of an overview of the RTP, why it's important, why the MPO is doing this plan. My partner Kristen will talk through some of the transportation deficiencies we found in our existing conditions analysis, give an update on the 2 rounds of public engagement that we've completed, and discuss how we're developing our project list and prioritizing those projects. And then we'll talk about what's next as we wrap up this project in the next few months. So an overview of the RTP. Lake Havasu City sits within the Lake Havasu Metropolitan Planning Organization. Every urbanized area in the country that has at least 50,000 people must form a metropolitan planning organization. And there are several required plans that MPO must complete, one of which is the Regional Transportation Plan. It has to be updated at least every 5 years. It's long range in nature, so it covers a 25-year horizon. It covers all modes of transportation in the region that are currently here or may be here in the next 25 years. So roadway traffic, freight, public transportation, pedestrians, bicycles, all of that is covered in this single plan. It incorporates recommendations from plans done by the MPO or the City of Lake Havasu City or Mojave County or ADOT that have an impact on the MPO area. We pull forward all those recommendations to be evaluated as part of the RTP. And finally, it's fiscally constrained. We actually forecast out what the available federal funding will look like for the MPO through 2050 and match up our anticipated projects to that funding, as well as identify strategies, because there's always a gap in what we want to do and the money we have to do it. So identify strategies to address that funding gap. So why should we care about the RTP other than checking the federal box? So this provides consistent regional data for the region. A fresh look at transportation that's been updated so that you can use that in other planning projects or design projects. We take into account population and employment growth that's anticipated for the region between now and 2050. And the last three bullets there is really how this plan sets the framework and guides MPO staff and city staff that are a part of the MPO on what are the priorities for what they should be focusing on as far as future studies, as far as finding additional funding. What are those top priorities that they should be pursuing over the next 5 years? So a quick look at our planning process. We've completed our existing and future conditions, and we've developed a region-wide travel demand model that takes into account future year demographics to forecast future traffic volumes on the roadway system. And we've used those tools to put together our financial plan and our project list, which is then going to get prioritized, which Kristen will talk through. So again, we forecasted out the funding. We've assembled a project list of projects that we think should be tackled in the next 25 years and developed a prioritization process to figure out what are the things that we should focus on first. What we're just getting into now is scoping for some of the top priority projects to keep the wheels moving after this RTP gets adopted. How do we set the MPO and Lake Havasu City and Mojave County up to move these projects forward into the design and implementation phase? And as part of that, we'll be looking at how we can perform some grant assistance to help pull in some additional funds to the region. And all of that culminates in our RTP document, which we're anticipating a draft available to the public in early July, and we'll be bringing to the executive board for the MPO in August for approval. So our schedule, we started this, we've been in it about a year now. We have wrapped up our modeling and system evaluation and our financial analysis. We're at the tail end of project prioritization. We have done 2 rounds of public engagement, which Kristen will go through in just a minute. And then, as I mentioned, what we're moving into now is that scoping, grant assistance, and plan development tasks, which will all go on concurrently, but that will all culminate again in a plan that will be publicly available for review for a 30-day comment period starting in July. And I'll hand it to Kristen to talk us through some of our findings.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening, everyone. So like Chris mentioned, I just wanted to walk through a few key deficiencies and constraints that we found in our existing conditions analysis when we took a look at all modes of transportation in the region. So one of these key findings when we're looking at existing and future demographics is there is limited connectivity between where residents live and the activity centers they're trying to get to. These long distances make it difficult to take trips that aren't necessarily by vehicle, so especially those pedestrian and vehicular trips. Similarly, as we're looking out to 2050, not only is the population within the region going to increase, but the aging population is going to increase as well, which faces additional barriers to safety and mobility, especially with a limited multimodal transportation network. Jumping to kind of looking at the roadway network and traffic performance throughout the region. One kind of big component that you wouldn't really necessarily see just driving around is regarding the functional classification of the roadways within the region. You'll see a lot of roads that once you actually look at the functional classification, it'll be maybe a major collector, and then it'll change for about 1,000 feet and then switch back with necessarily no rhyme or reason. And so this inconsistency can, down the line, lead to potential funding impacts. So we really want to get that kind of ironed out, so that potential funding can be pursued for corridors that make sense. And then looking at congestion in current day using the travel model that Chris mentioned, we don't actually anticipate any current congestion shown based on volumes and laneage in the model today. But looking forward to 2050, we're anticipating that there won't necessarily be congestion present on segments, but there definitely will be at key intersections within the city, especially near downtown and London Bridge, which I'm sure you guys are all well aware of. And then jumping into multimodal transportation, there's very limited active transportation infrastructure throughout the region as a whole. I know that the pedestrian infrastructure is present around downtown Lake Havasu, but once you go away from downtown, that infrastructure does kind of fizzle out. And then same thing with bicycle infrastructure. So once again, making it hard for people to actually use bicycling or walking as viable transportation methods. And then actually circling back to our active transportation crashes. Why is this important? There are people walking and biking in your community now. And so with these people walking and biking, they're unable to walk safely due to lack of context-appropriate facilities, which are resulting in a higher ratio of crashes. Active transportation crashes make up 3% of all crashes within the region, which is probably much higher than you would expect, and they do commonly result in fatal and serious injuries. And then, like Chris mentioned, we did 2 rounds of public engagement. So our first round that was held in last fall covered our existing conditions. So while we were developing our existing conditions data and identifying those key constraints and deficiencies for the roadway network, we really wanted to take it back to the public and say, where are the barriers that you see? Where are your hot button issues with the transportation network, whether that's just safety related? Is it congestion? Is it a barrier? And where are you trying to travel to? And we wanted to get all of that information together and on a map there. So if you look in the corner, you can see all of the points that everyone left during that round of engagement. We also had a survey open that allowed the public to rank the goals that we set for the RTP and really provide their input on the priorities of the transportation network that we later filtered through to our prioritization process, which I'll touch on in a bit. But to couple this virtual engagement, we had 4 in-person pop-ups to spread the word and get input. And then this March, last month, we had our second round of public engagement. So once we were able to actually take their input from our first round and kind of layer it with our findings from existing conditions, we then developed a project list and took it back to the public and said, really, how off base are we? There was a web map and they could view all of the projects that we identified and all of the details of those projects and provide upvotes if they supported it, downvotes if they didn't support it, and then also any comments for recommended refinements, why they liked it or why they didn't. And then we took that list and have now made refinements and made sure we had consensus on the project list. And so to couple that engagement, we had 2 pop-up events at the beginning of March. And then we really wanted to make sure that we spread the word about all of these opportunities to provide input. So we had project flyers posted around the city and the region as a whole. And we also had events save the dates. One thing I want to mention is we also have been working hard with the general plan team to align engagement opportunities and also align advertising efforts. So you may have seen some advertisements go out at the same time for both the general plan and the RTP. We also reached out to news outlets and radio stations to provide press releases, and then leveraged not only the city's social media, but also the MPO's social media to get those advertisements out as well. So you'll see some examples on the screen. And then what did we hear from this? So like I mentioned, you saw that little snapshot of our first round of engagement, all of the comments we got on the web map, but it resulted in 39 total comments for existing conditions, and then over 160 survey responses on the regional priorities, which is wonderful. You can see those there. So the top one that came through was safety, multimodal integration, and connectivity. And we made sure to stream these through into the prioritization process for the RTP. And then for our project prioritization, second round of engagement, we received 37, these are actually dated, but as of the end of our engagement window on April 1st, we received 41 project upvotes and also 45 map comments on projects for recommendations and other details on why they may have supported the project. But yeah, really good input overall and really helped us as we're defining not only the initial project list, but how we refine it later on throughout the process. Okay, so I've spoken a lot about the prioritization process and little snippets here, so I will talk through kind of how we brought it all together. So like I mentioned, we did develop our initial project list for the RTP based on numerous kind of overlays, right? So we had the existing conditions data and those resulting deficiencies that I went over with you all briefly. Like Chris mentioned, this plan compiled any recommendation from pertinent plans within the region that were done previously. And we went through and decided, is this still applicable today? And if so, if we felt it was viable, we pulled it into the initial project list. We also included any public comments, and we went through each one and said, okay, from our existing conditions information we got, do we have a project that already covers this concern? If not, we added a project based on public input. And that's how we came up with an initial project list. But it goes further than that. We want to make sure that not only do we have kind of sources to back up these projects, but we also want to make sure that it's supported and implementable. So that's when we really started refining the project list. So not only did we take the initial list to MPO staff to review and provide initial comments on, but we had a project refinement workshop that included key stakeholders and decision makers that are a part of the LHMPO TAC to really go one by one to each project and look at, what are the limits? What is the description of the project? What elements are we including? And are these all feasible? And we tinkered with each one individually to develop an updated project list. And then, like I mentioned, after round 2 of public engagement, we also made updates to make sure that we were in alignment with public comment. And then where do we go from here now that we have a refined project list? We take it to our prioritization process. And so I'll go into this in more detail in one second, but we developed a prioritization framework based on the goals that we developed for the RTP, that we had the public rank in round 1. And we developed quantitative metrics that could allow us to assess projects one by one and get a priority score for each. So what does our project list look like today? So it's currently 45 projects. I believe we've started at around 70 projects before going into our project refinement workshop and doing some more tinkering. And so today we have 45 total RTP projects. You'll see a few categories for vehicular improvements, active transportation improvements, and then you'll also see a few kind of study highlighted as well. One thing I want to note is that we were very purposeful about developing this project list. We had a lot more recommendations that were actually maybe considered a capacity project or a pavement improvement project or something like that in our initial list. But after discussion with MPO, city and county staff, we actually decided to move some of those projects to corridor studies, because there have been a lot of recommendations made throughout the last however many years all the plans that we reviewed that may have recommended on some of your key corridors. You need parking, you need bike lanes, you need roadway improvements, you need all these things, and they're all separate projects. So we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, and look at each corridor very intricately and give it kind of the time it needs to really, the time and kind of scoping it needs to really understand what are the correct improvements here. So just wanted to point that out. That's why you'll see a lot of studies in our initial list. And then moving into how are we actually prioritizing them. So you'll see up on the screen there, those are the goals that I referenced. So for the RTP, we took these to LHMPO's TAC and said, how do you envision the transportation network? What are your goals and priorities for the network in the region? And they came up with economic development, safety, connectivity, multimodal integration, efficient travel, sustainability, maintenance, and implementation. So these goals were developed. Like I mentioned, the public was able to weight them. And then we also had the TAC do a similar weighting exercise where we said, okay, if you were going to determine what your high priority projects were based on, or if you had all these priorities that you're juggling, which everyone is every day, right? How would that kind of line up in your mind? And we were able to get a final weighting that took the tax recommendations and the public's recommendations and merged them into one. And so we plugged this into our dynamic spreadsheet tool that assessed project by project, and the associated performance measures associated with each goal to develop a final score. And so you'll see there, safety and economic development and connectivity were those highest weights. And then Chris will go over what's next.
All right. So bringing it home here, the next couple steps to bring this to the draft plan stage. We're going to finalize prioritization. We're actually getting that to MPO staff by the end of the week this week. We are going to work with them over the next couple months to figure out what are the projects that are a priority for the city, the county, and ADOT in the region to move into scoping and grant assistance to figure out how we keep those moving after the end of the project. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to be putting together our draft RTP document here in the next couple months, and shooting for getting a public draft out for the 30-day public comment period in early July so that we can bring it for approval from the MPO Executive Board in August. And we're happy to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Do any members of the council have any questions? Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
So earlier in your presentation, you said you guys forecasted out the funding. Are you when you say that, are you talking about how much each project you feel is going to cost, or are you talking about the funding that we already have available in our city, county, and ADOT budgets?
So it's both. We're focused on the kind of funding allocation side on the federal funds the MPO receives. So we did forecast also HERF money that goes to the city and county, and we're going to and. So that's the kind of revenue side. We also developed a planning level cost for each of those projects, and we have an inflation factor that goes on those so that we can start looking at over time both the revenues and what those expenses are to try to match up and figure out what we can pay for with the funds available and what we need to go find external sources for. So that's part of our next step is the implementation plan where we actually map those two things together.
And I always like when we have these presentations, it does give us like a big overhead view of everything. But I still always think we're missing something on the reach. So we have about 60,000 residents in this city, and we know they're not all adults. But we were kind of like happy, patting ourselves on the back. We had over 160 responses. That's like 0.275% of the population. I just wish we have to, and that's no blame to you guys. We have to figure out as a team, how do we get these things out in front of the people?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say to that, it's very challenging to break through, especially online, something that seems a little dull, like a regional transportation plan, especially when it's very broad like this. I think people get very animated when it's a specific project happening in their backyard. It's, people come out much more easily when there's a specific impact. So we do struggle with that. We did try and leverage the great ongoing efforts of the team doing your general plan as well to try and we promoted their project, they promoted our project to try to boost that up as best we could. One thing we didn't have in this presentation is our second round of engagement. We did get a couple hundred interactions with folks at those two events we did in person. And while we didn't get a lot of them to convert to that web mapping process, we got a whole bunch of comment cards from them and a lot of one-on-one conversations with folks about what their priorities are. And we tried to quickly jot those down and have that reflected in our public engagement results.
And then my last point would be, and then I'll open to where else, is if we're talking about bike lanes and so forth, we don't want road diets because we see what happens when we start narrowing lanes. So we have to really figure that out, and that's going to be a lot of money to widen the roads versus cutting down on the lane because you're going to add a bike lane to it. It's just a comment I wanted to
make. And great point, and that is, Kristen was talking about, we converted a lot of projects to future studies to exactly have those conversations, because what we've seen from recent plans is there's a lot of kind of half-baked, for lack of a better term, recommendations of, make this a bike route, add more capacity, do this, do that. And none of them were put together looking at all aspects of that corridor and all the things we're asking that corridor to do, and figure out how we prioritize with people what is actually the thing that this corridor needs to do at its most basic level, and what are the extra things we can fit in, and what are the things that just don't fit in. And so that's what those corridor studies are intended to do, is ask those hard questions on a corridor by corridor basis to figure out what the right improvements are.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yeah, I was looking at the off-street bicycle enhancements. Was there any discussion or talks on projects with e-bikes? I was looking at some of the other regional plans that they have, like in Pinema County and stuff, and that they have some research done on like safety with their speed limits and things. Is there any discussion on that?
So we are developing that. One thing we did hear from our public engagement in both rounds is that e-bikes are a concern of many residents from a safety standpoint. They do provide a lot of great mobility opportunities, but there's not really settled best practices on what the right infrastructure is to handle those, because they've emerged so quickly. And so in the final RTP, we are compiling some kind of early best practices and guidance that we've seen from other comparable regions on how to regulate those, how to enforce laws on those, and those sorts of topics to address that.
Have you seen in any other areas about regulating speeds on any of them, if that works?
It's incredibly hard to enforce has been what we've run up against. There have been many agencies that put a speed limit or a certain, size of the electronic engine or things like that. As far as like what can use a trail or what can use a bike lane or things like that. But it's very difficult for a police officer to enforce that and figure out exactly, is this below or above that threshold when they, pull somebody over and attempt to ticket them. So yeah, it's definitely a thorny issue and one that's increasingly at the forefront of active transportation planning, because there's not a strict line between bicycles and motorcycles anymore. So it's very blended. And so figuring out the right place to put that threshold is a challenge for sure.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor, if I
Mr. Knudsen.
So I appreciate the presentation. You briefly talked about the concept of a corridor study, and which would be in addition after this, right? We're talking about dollars coming through the MPO to study corridors within Lake Havasu.
Correct.
I think it's a critical step as we better understand the road structure that we have. We don't have the ability to widen any of our roads. We are up against like right away when it comes to the major roadways. Some of the smaller roadways, there are some conversations to be had. But if you're looking like Acoma, McCulloch, our bigger boulevards and avenues we have within Havasu, we don't have the ability to add additional lanes. So we start talking about e-bikes and bike lanes and all these things. There's only so much capacity that we have. Vice Mayor Diaz is correct that road diet, is that what we called it? And trying to shrink the lanes is something that our residents have told us time and time again that that's not the solution. And Havasu with the Havasu toys and the trucks and the boats and the RVs and so forth. I say all that because there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. It's either one or the other, but the corridor study you're talking about. So we're talking about like picking one, Acoma, or picking another one. Maybe it's Lake Havasu Avenue, and then I think there's a handful that are planned for corridor studies. At least that's the anticipation. Could you talk about what is in a corridor study? Does that include like painting, striping, sidewalks, signage? What is all included in that corridor study?
So it would follow a relatively similar planning process to what we have here, where we collect existing conditions data. At the corridor level, it would be much more detailed. So things like traffic counts, things like turning movement counts, counting the number of people crossing an intersection or bicycles on the road to get that much more robust data to make decisions on how do we balance those trade-offs between capacity, efficiency, active transportation, comfort for everybody on the road. And so you go through an alternatives analysis phase. There would be a public engagement component of it. And then the recommendations that come out of that could be very broad. And one thing to note with good corridor studies is not only is it that specific road itself, but how can you leverage kind of parallel routes like a wash or a minor street that's adjacent to that road that maybe you could do some sort of trail or low stress bike facility on that local road that runs parallel, and even like make it so traffic might not be able to go straight through that parallel road to make it very slow and comfortable for cyclists. So they should take a little bit of a broader look beyond just that corridor, but those are the types of conversations that you would have to facilitate through both the public and you all as elected officials to figure out how you balance those trade-offs, because we're asking too much of many of these roads today and need to figure out what's the kind of primary purposes of each one. Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? If so, you just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dinah Lutz. The frequency is this was every 5 years? Is that what it is? What is our performance to the last plan that created the plan? Like, for example, I'm sure corridor studies were part of that. Have we done any of them? And how are we measuring ourselves to previous studies? So that we're not duplicating effort, or are we even doing it? Do we not, like, for example, does funding not allow us to do some of this stuff in reality? What's reality? How does this plan compare to previous plans?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so what the RTP does is it allows the opportunity, should federal funding become available for one of these projects, for that to be entertained. So you are correct, Ms. Lutz, not all of it can be done, but Chris, maybe you can talk about how you take the plan before and incorporate it into what is this.
Absolutely. So there were quantitative metrics in the last RTP that we looked at and measured our progress towards those or away from those. So things like congestion have not changed a whole lot. There hasn't really been major changes in the region. One thing we are noticing, unfortunately, is that safety is trending in the wrong direction, especially with regards to serious injury and fatal crashes. They are growing at a rate beyond that of the growth rate of the region. And so safety, we've made it an even more critical component to this RTP than the last one. And you're right, Mayor Sheehy, there are way more needs than there is funding available to address those needs. And so this is really about reevaluating how do we prioritize those and what do we tackle first. There have been a couple good studies to come out of that last RTP. One being a traffic signal study in downtown Lake Havasu City around Lake Havasu Avenue between Mesquite and Swanson, to try and make all those traffic signals talk to each other so that they're a lot more efficient. You're not getting stopped at each one as you're going through that area, kind of at the landing of the London Bridge. And I believe the Safe Routes to School plan was also recommended from the last study as well. So there have been a few that have moved forward. But with this RTP, we are looking for a greater focus on studies to figure out what are the right investments moving forward. And there is federal funding available to do some of those.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
It's all great stuff. I guess the question becomes, where's the money coming from? And that's my biggest concern, right? The city already struggles gallantly with all the road work you have to do, all the investments that have to be done, underground water mains, and everything else that are directly tied to the citizens, okay? And I realize some of this is great stuff, but it's not a bottomless pit, right? And we all know that, right? And I think it's getting tighter and tighter as times go on. The state is having issues with money. Our friends in Washington, they always have problems with money. But it's not a bottomless pit. And I think you have to, as the city has done, prioritize the needs, right? Prioritize what needs to get done, the critical issues for the community. And again, some of this is great stuff, but where's it going to come from? That's always my biggest concern of, you guys are already strapped to begin with. It's just another thing that's going to drag you down. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address? Yeah, please just make way to the podium. State your name for the record.
I'm Deborah Hunter, but were there any printed surveys put out like at the senior center so you'd get more response, or was it all everything online? Because
Miss Hunter, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
were there any printed surveys put out like at the senior center, the library, the city offices, so you would get more response? Older people don't like to go online.
Yeah, we'll let Chris answer that. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hunter.
Thank you. Good comment. We did not have any physical copies available. We did try to have a number of in-person engagement opportunities. If somebody had those opportunities, we tried to promote those in advance so people knew where to come meet us if they would prefer to give us feedback in person. But yes, we did not put any surveys out physically, though. When we get to the stage where we have the draft RTP out for public review, that typically does need to be put in publicly accessible facilities, hard copies of that, and a method to collect comments on the final report.
Did you try free pizza?
We did try free pizza, and we gave away, I think there was a picture in there, I gave away about 15 pizzas. And the next day we had coffee and donuts at Rotary Park. So,
would anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any additional discussion from council? This is an item for presentation, so there is no action of the council this evening, but any final comments before we move on to the next item? All right, thank you so much, Chris and Kristen, for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 7.2, which is ratification of change order number 1 to the cooperative purchase of the refurbishment of one 2001 E1 100-foot aerial quint for additional expenditure with Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus, DBA Fire Trucks Unlimited. Chief Palafis.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayors, council members. Before you, the fire department began a refurbish of our 2001 E1 100-foot aerial quint with the original city council approving this on July 9th of 2024, not to exceed the original amount of $900,000. The refurb required a change order. Once we get into the inspection of the refurb, this is not a brand new rig where we're getting a spec for it. This is taking a current asset and bringing it up to a higher standard and refurbing the entire rig. We found some items that needed to be improved upon it. that exceeded our 900,000. That's why I'm in front of you. Knowing that, we're exceeding our original budget by $31,213. We anticipated this during our budget process last year, so we requested $35,000, which was approved in our fiscal budget for this year. So I just come before you because of the change order and exceeding the 900,000. So I'm looking for your approval that you approve this amount exceeding that amount. And we anticipate we're actually going for our inspection on Thursday of our rig. Our rig is almost completed. It's the process was about 18 months. So just kind of put it in perspective, a new fire truck right now is taking 5 years to build and roughly about $2.2 to $2.5 million. So we started this refurb. This is our third refurb with Brindley Mountain and Fire Trucks Unlimited. We're happy with the service. We're taking a current asset that we have and are extending the life and being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to ask or answer.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz?
Chief, thank you for this cost-saving measure. This really helps out. The other two that we've already received, we're having no issues with them. That they're
Council, we had an issue with one of our rigs, but it was covered underneath the warranty. We actually blew the engine on one of them, but that sometimes it happens. But the Fire Trucks Unlimited stand behind their product. And the thing is, what we do is we run the 1 year warranty out. So it's going to be on the road to get the wear and tear on it. So if we have a problem with it, they can fix it.
Do we have any brand new ones on order? Or
yes, sir.
5 years ago?
Actually, it is 5 years ago. So we actually have two on order. One's coming in 2027 and the other one will be coming in 2028. And, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions from members of council?
Just a quick question. The one that we're refurbishing, that was one that we owned, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And you answered the question about the warranty, so thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz?
I move to ratify the execution of change order number 1 to the cooperative purchase for the refurbishment of 2001 E1 100-foot aerial quint for additional expenditure with Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus, DBA as Fire Trucks Unlimited.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Diaz. We have a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is item 7.3, which is a presentation and update on 60% Second Bridge and Roadway Improvement Project. Mr. Foggin?
Mayor, Council, again, it is a pleasure to be here to talk about just an absolutely fantastic project that has kept me busy since we awarded the original design bid back in 2024. We have worked tirelessly on this project. It's been fun. There's been a lot of frustration with it, but we've got a fantastic team, the city team, the design team, the CMAR, Ames, construction. We've worked extremely well together. A whole bunch of work has gone into designing this project and then value engineering it to make sure that it fits within the allotted budget that we've been given to do the project. And so it's a great opportunity to be part of you don't get an opportunity to be part of a $35 million plus project every day. So super exciting. But the team has been fantastic. We meet every other week. And we've been plowing through this project, meeting, and then off times as well as items have come up. Before I introduce the team, I want to tell you that there's been a few roadblocks that we've run into on this project. The most recent one is the land and water conservation land conversion process. I put an email out to state parks back December of 2024 stating that we needed to get this conversion done. Actually told them, in my opinion, that it was done based on 1997 effort by the city council. And a couple weeks ago, I was told that it was potentially going to add another 6 to 8 months to the process. That's a huge deal because potentially we're working through this to try to make this not a reality, but potentially the Coast Guard, who is going to issue the environmental assessment and the bridge permit, may require the land and water conservation issue to be resolved before they actually approve the bridge permit, which is that is going to put us behind. Now we are still planning on our basically the first quarter of construction starting of 2027. I'm meeting now every other week with state parks to resolve this issue. And the people I'm working with, the assistant director and the land and water conservation experts for state parks, they're trying. But if they ever ask me again, what's the rush? I may come out of my skin. So I want to just preview that. It's my pleasure to welcome Jason from my team, Jason Hart, who's the project manager, doing a fantastic job working with all the different agencies. You'll see that in his presentation. And John Rowland, who's the project manager for NV5. I want to recognize him. They're actually going to tag team this presentation. Again, we're excited about the teamwork and the effort that's gone into this. And I think you'll see that we've actually moved really as quickly as we possibly can, and also to be able to bring this project to the city in budget. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jason Hart.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Foggin. It's an honor to come before you, City Council. It's always a pleasure to bring a capital improvement project to you, and I'm honored to be here with John Rowland with NV5. He's obviously with the team that the city hired to do the design work, and as you're aware, we went and hired a CMAR, Ames Construction as well, the process, and we'll get into that a little bit here, but kind of want to just give you a brief overview of where we're at, the status of this, what we call a little milestone here with the 60% submittal, and we'll go ahead and just get started. So the timeline up to now, as Mr. Foggin was telling you, in 2024, there was a feasibility study completed in June, and all of you are familiar with what that feasibility study was. It was great to have that completed. In October, we were able to hire NV5, bring them on board with their expertise, went through a very extensive request for a statement of qualifications process, where we looked at qualifications, brought them on board, then we negotiated a contract after that, and we're very excited to get them on board. It wasn't too much longer after that we actually received the 20% bridge design submittal from them. They gathered a lot of data, they laid out a lot of stuff for us and submitted this 20%. Then it was in 2025, in February, we actually hired the CMAR, which is the Construction Management at Risk. That is Ames Construction. Again, went through a very extensive RSFQ process and brought them on board. They are reputable company that's done a lot of bridge projects, and they've been excellent to work with. We've really enjoyed them. And as Mr. Foggin touched on with our city team of myself, Tim Collette, Mr. Foggin, Mike Wolf, working with NV5, their guys, as well as Ames Construction, is meeting bi-weekly, and of course phone calls and emails in between. It's been really a pleasure for me to be able to work with them. It was in July that we started the environmental assessment with the Coast Guard, which is that 1-year clock that Mr. Foggin was talking about. So we tried to get on that as quick as we could and get that application in and get that process started. It was in September that we received the 30% bridge design package from NV5. So you can kind of do the math there and see it was about 9 months between the 20 and the 30. And that's because we went over a lot of different things in that, looking at some value engineering stuff and such, and going at different angles. And so it took a little time there. Also looked at rotating the bridge and changing the alignment. And so there was quite a bit of work going on there. Then in 2026, March, we received here just a few months ago, the 60% bridge design. And we've been able to review that and get our comments back to NV5, and they're now working on getting responses and making changes to aim ultimately towards 90% submittal. So teamwork, that's really what this is all about. And since we started this project, we've been working with quite a few agencies. Those agencies we've been working with the Arizona Department of Transportation. We've been working with Arizona State Lands. We've been working with Arizona State Parks. We've been working with the Bureau of Land Management. We've been working with the United States Coast Guard. So these are all the large governmental agencies that, for the most part, have been really good to work with. And it's been quite the process. With that, I'm going to turn it over. Well, I'll touch on this. So our project construction limits, this is an aerial map that kind of shows you the overall project going from it would be your right. It would be the intersection there near Beachcomber. We actually don't quite go to there, though we do take a reclaimed water line to it. And then we follow our right of way through state lands. We cross the English Channel into state parks, and then we come into London Bridge Road there near the parking lot. And then we have a few adjustments that we make throughout that ultimately ties us into the state highway. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to John and let him.
I'll let you hold that. I'll screw it up.
Oh, okay.
You can tap that. Hello. I'm John. So in order to get to 60% in the iterative design process, we need to look at a lot of options and try to figure out with the city what works best for this project. So we took the original feasibility study design, and you can do some clicks here as we go, and try to give you all we can for the budget that is available. So we looked at a bunch of things, one of which was we changed the entire location of the bridge to cross at an angle across the channel to make everything shorter. Outside what the feasibility study said, saved millions of dollars on this project. We're really excited about that. A little bit more roadway, a lot less bridge. Bridge is really expensive. That's kind of the goal. We also eliminated retaining walls on the island side of this project. We were going to have 30-foot tall retaining walls at one point on this, which isn't that fun. We actually made the bridge actually a little bit longer, added a third span in order to remove all those retaining walls, eliminate a lot of earthwork, make everything just look a lot nicer. We were going to have walls the whole way up to the water on the island side at one point, and that wasn't ideal. By doing that, we also shortened the bridge girder heights, so the bridge isn't going to look as thick to someone standing or someone on a boat on the water. We reduced the bridge width by about 10 feet, a little more than 10 feet actually, just maximizing what we can do within the roadway. We actually have two 13-foot lanes right now, 13 foot, a little bit wider than the standard 12-foot. We also have a nice 10-foot wide multi-use path. So it's a really good looking section. And then we also, again, working with all the consultants on this. There's countless consultants on here, one of which is Geotech, and working with them to reduce the size of the drilled shafts for these giant piers that are holding up this bridge. So we had a lot of really productive work with them in maximizing what we could do. So here you see a pretty colored exhibit of the actual roadway that we're looking at right now. Yellow being the roadway, blue being pedestrian ways. And the blue along the road, it will start from McCulloch and go to the north. We have a 10-foot multi-use path along the entire roadway until it hits London Bridge Road. Additionally, we are extending on the mainland side, we are extending the existing path on the north side of the channel through the state park. We can show it right here. This path right here, extending it under the bridge so we can connect. So someone following along the channel can now connect easily with the multi-use path and cross to the island pretty simply and easily. And we have intersections on stop controlled intersections on both ends of the project, a new access into state parks, and yeah, there we go. There's the overview.
So our timeline going forward in 2026 here in April, we're looking to get a 60% cost estimate from Ains Construction. We're really eager to see what that's going to look like. We have some really good feelings about it. We've done a lot of value engineering, and I think we're going to be quite pleased with it. Then in June, we're going to see our 90% bridge design submittal. In July, we're hoping to see the EA permit issued by the U.S. Coast Guard, but as Mr. Foggin talked about, that could be held up. And then we do plan on having the August 100% bridge design with the goal of going to construction in the start of the spring of 2027 with the construction duration between 18 and 24 months. They'll be able to construct the bridge concurrently as we're constructing roadways, which we hope will speed things up a little bit. So we got a good timeline we're shooting for, and we're going to give it our best go at it. As Ron did share, the potential project delays on this is the right-of-way finalization with state parks due to the LWCF process. And as he shared, the construction phase could see a possible delay of 6 to 8 months as a result. With that, if you have any questions, we'll answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hart. Councilmember Lynn, did you have?
Can you go back 2 slides? On your timeline there, that August to construction, the August 100% design to the construction, is that on in best case scenario, or is it still, could it be an additional 6 to 8 months from that spring?
That's a good question. I would have a little bit of a fudge factor there, but it could push it a little bit further out if we have to go into that.
Because I'm confused with that August date, what's happening between August and spring of 2027. If that's not my stall, then what am I doing in between that?
Yeah, so we'll receive the plans. We'll have to go ahead and review them. Then we'll have to work and get the final plans packaged together with the specs and give it to Ames to do the final GM.
That takes that long, 6 to 8 months?
Let's hope not.
Because this could push it out even to 2028. Like, my concern is that I hope they don't pull the money back. I hope state doesn't take that $32 million, because if we go do all this work and we're out, I mean, we went to them in 2024, we're going 4 years later. Like, I have a concern that we're going to do all this work. And I'm not saying any of this is your fault. Just the timeline makes me nervous.
Understand.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
If I heard you correctly, in July, we're hoping to get the EA permit issued by the U.S. Coast Guard. Did you say that they could potentially push it back 6 to 8 months, or the last slide? I think I missed part of that.
As Mr. Foggin shared, there have stated that the LWCF component has to be finalized before they will issue the permit. However, we're being told by National Park Service that there has been projects where that hasn't been required. But we are working right now. The position is it's got to be finalized. So we're working with National Parks to get that finalized. The clock started in July of 2025 when we submitted the application to the Coast Guard, and they have 1 year, which would be July. But with this unforeseen challenge, we could be a potential delay. Now, I'm a cup half full guy, so I think we're going to be good. But
Councilmember Moses?
No, when I heard news of the potential delay, it was disheartening. I have a friend who works for the State Parks Department, and I talked to her, and she asked me to say, "Well, you guys have a really, really aggressive timeline for getting this built." And I'm like, "Well, I get that, but we really, really, this is very important to a lot of citizens, and we just want to make sure it's getting done." And so, she commended you and Mr. Foggin and the whole staff that they feel that this is definitely a priority to you guys, that you guys have been working your tail off to try and get these things done. I hope that staff can try this, but we're essentially waiting for the federal government to tell the federal government that it's okay to do what we want. And it's like, oh my gosh, gotta love it. But I'm hopeful that if we can at least just get those two entities in the same room and be like, they're okay with it, so it's okay to move on, even though we can't officially tick that box yet. That this is good to go, and we can minimize that. And so I just urge you, I know you guys are already trying this, but please try and get those two people in the same room and have a moment of clarity that this just makes sense.
Understood. One challenge I didn't mention is that we're currently in day 59 of a government shutdown, and the Coast Guard cannot respond to anything until the shutdown ends.
I'm still waiting on IRS refunds too, so.
Mayor.
But yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz, and then we'll go to Councilmember.
Yes. So I also reached out to Representative Leo Biasucci. He was in Washington last week, and he's talked to the Department of Interior. He also spoke to Director Broscheid with the Arizona Parks. And there was a little stuff going on between them and the Coast Guard, but he assured me he's on top of it for us. I know him really well. He's not going to steer me in the wrong. And I talked to Jess over the weekend. And so he's going to push as much as he can forward and say, guys, we need to get this done for us, for the citizens, and for us. So hopefully this timeline here is not going to be delayed 6 to 8 months, because that's going to be really tough to swallow. So Leo's on, and I told Jess I would keep him in tune with what's going on. And of course, Leo will talk to all of us. All right.
Mayor.
Councilmember Campbell.
Today I had a conversation with Sam Elters in regards to the bridge, and I said, you guys built a bridge in Bullhead to the Avi side or whatever, and also the Laughlin. He said, well, the only hang up we really ever had was funding. We never had a bunch of money sitting in a pot before we started. And I said, with the Coast Guard and all of that, were you challenged? And he said, no, it actually went very, very smooth. We just ran out of money and then had to go back and get some more money. And he said at any time, if anybody wanted to call, because I said, I want to know more, just so that when citizens come and ask me questions. And he said, I'd love to sit down with anybody. We had no problems. It was facilitated quite smoothly. And again, he was the state engineer at one time. So again, these conversations, I'm aware of it. I'm trying to build a development, and I'm running into a wall every 5 minutes. If you would have told me that was going to take me 4 years to do it, I probably would have never done it. You know what I mean? So I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you today, he said, if anybody ever wanted to pick up the phone and if there's anything you needed on that part too, he's willing to listen and be with you. Okay.
Thank you. One of, just for some clarification, our ingress and egress for our bridge, we don't own the property. That's the difference on our bridge, is that Arizona State Parks, which is the one that's causing the issue. And to Mr. Foggin's credit, he has been talking about this since day one, that this was going to be an issue. And State Parks was not understanding of what the issue potentially could be. So we've brought all of the people together, and that's what's now started the every 2-week meetings for this to occur. And then, of course, on the island side, we don't own that land, but we do own a right of way with state lands, but as I believe John mentioned, the aligning the bridge to save us money, so that there was movement there too. So if we were the property owners, it'd be a little bit different on both sides. So we have a couple of those components. Jason, you were actually pretty kind when you said the organizations you're working with. Those are big, large organizations that are very difficult to work with within the bounds of what their responsibilities are. BLM, state lands, state parks, and again, all working well with us, but they're very complex organizations that we're working with. So did you mention during your comments that the Coast Guard potentially could be delaying the process, or will they be issuing the permit in July?
They have said that if the LWCF component is not finalized, that they would have to delay issuing the permit.
But would allow construction to proceed while they work through? No, just stop completely.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Basically, the Coast Guard was saying one thing and Arizona Parks was saying another thing, but at least Leo's talking to the director of the Arizona State Parks. So that's good.
Yes, and we've been having those discussions as well. So.
Yeah, but he's going to push. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, excellent. Any additional questions before we open the public hearing? Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Dolan, and then Mr. Knudsen. Please, Councilmember Dolan.
Yeah, as someone that's not a fan of the bridge, I just want to make a couple points. We keep mentioning the word citizens and for the citizens, and I have yet, other than people that live on the island or that want to develop the island, I have not heard any citizen tell me they want the bridge. They're concerned about traffic on the bridge, but then we just don't let everyone develop out there. But we keep talking, to me, it's just the island. We can call it the Island Development Bridge because that's really what it is. like I said, there was a part of me that really, and this is a concern, I don't know if we've brought this up, but, the one thing I remotely liked about the bridge is that we could run a sewer line to it because our sewer line that runs under the channel would fit in it. But now we've realized that doesn't fit. So now I was like maybe 20% for the bridge, but now that that's gone, I'm, like I said, maybe we need to spend that money on getting a sewer line and, it's just 2 bridges to a man-made island just so we can develop the heck out of it. Like I said, we just kept mentioning citizens, and I have yet to have any citizen other than somebody that lives on the island tell me we need this bridge. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Dolan. Yeah. You got Mr. Knudsen?
Yeah, I appreciate that. A little clarity on the Arizona State Park side. We talk about the land conservation and all of that. So just a little bit in terms of context. So the city has had a memo of understanding, an agreement between the city and state parks for a lot of years. Essentially, that says when the city is ready to build that bridge, that the state parks will be there to convey the property that's needed to connect the bridge to London Bridge Road. And so when we started the project, we said, okay, we're ready. The memo of understanding says that you'll convey that property over to the city. We found out pretty quickly that the land that the state parks has identified to convey to the city has the land and water conservation. Basically, it's a restriction that's placed on the title of the property. So what they need to do is some type of effort internal to their department where they're doing an appraisal and they're trying to find some type of land swap, where they take the title restriction off this property, put it on another property somewhere in Arizona, and then frees up this property to give to the city. So it's a lot of effort, a lot of paperwork, a lot of the left arm talking to the right arm at state parks in order for them to give us the property that they agreed to more than a decade ago. So I just kind of want to put that out there, and we're working with them. We're on a good path right now, but the frustration is that we're ahead of their schedule. So I just wanted to point that out there in that context. And if you go back to the slide that shows a timeline, where it said 100% design, it was a great question, and what does that mean in terms of what that is? In comparison, the city has received a 100% design for Fire Station 7 that was just submitted this week, which is fantastic. So what does 100% design mean? That means that the design is completed by the contractor and submitted to the Development Services Department for plan review. So the design team puts together the 100% design, and then the building side, the city reviews it to make sure it meets all codes and all those things that we would do with any type of project that would come before the city for review. And then as that's happening, then the construction side, their team is out there collecting bids from contractors so we can identify the total 100% cost, the guaranteed maximum price for that contract. So those things are happening as soon as that 100% bridge design takes place, or the 100% Fire Station 7 design happens. It's a huge step, and we celebrate when we receive the design as we're working through that process up into that point. But that's what that means. That allows us to review it, and then the contractors provide the bids, and then when all of that is done, then we're ready to go and ready to do the groundbreaking ceremonies that are tied to that. So I kind of want to explain that 100% bridge design timeline. It kind of feels like as on the slide that it looks like, okay, we're ready to go. Let's go build the bridge. But at that point, there's still a few steps that are necessary as part of that process. And then we'll be bringing that contract back to council for that guaranteed maximum price. So that'll take place right there. And then Councilmember Dolan identified the force main, the sewer that we were talking about in terms of the bridge construction. I've spoken about it with several council members and try to update as best I can. But the gut punch was about 2 months ago when the experts and the members of the team were trying to identify what that means in terms of the main sewer line and connect that to the bridge structure. We are able to identify the water main, the effluent, but the sewer main is a force main, and the shape of the bridge isn't exactly flat or straight, it would require a relief valve on that sewer main. We don't want a relief valve overhead for obvious reasons. So we have next steps in terms of what that means. We still want to completely evaluate the existing water main, or excuse me, the sewer main that's now located underneath the channel area. We have some plans and to be able to bring to the council and what that looks like in terms of assessing the condition of that sewer main. That hasn't been done for several years. We want to make sure we know exactly what the condition of that main is. And then there's some, if it's looking like it's in great condition, we'll set a schedule and do that again in a few years. If there is a need for improvement of that line, or if the condition is subpar, there's a couple different options that we have, and we'll be bringing those before council. So the sewer main won't be in the bridge itself, but we will be looking at that as parallel to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
So, and just for clarification, so, we didn't just decide that we needed a bridge because we did a feasibility study in 2024. I think it was in 2002 or 2003, there was a RUDAT study done for a second bridge study, and it was considered back then to be a necessary thing we needed to build. It just never got built. So it's not just something that came up 3 years ago, we're going to build a bridge. So I just want to get that out to in the atmosphere, so.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz, to your point, it actually is even before the RUDAP. I mean, this has been talked about since Mr. McCulloch was still developing in the 70s. And
even a better point. So,
and also for, sometimes on social media, we hear that we don't need a second bridge, and why don't we use the money for roads, or why don't we use the money for this or that or the other things? We talk about the $35.5 million, but that was a direct appropriation from the state legislature, which, obviously huge thanks go out to Supervisor Borelli, who was then Senator Borelli, Representative Biasucci, Representative Cobb at the time, and then Representative Gillette has continued on. Without their teamwork and their passion to drive this money forward, we would not have that $35.5 million to actually have this project be a thing. So the money is specifically in the legislation. It's for an emergency evacuation bridge. Those are the words in the legislation, and the appropriations are the $35.5 million, which have been transferred to the city. We've expended some of the funds already for the design work, and that's been happening up to the 60%. But the money's also been earning interest. So that'll help be invested into, invested into this infrastructure and the bridge when we go ahead and do it. So just an important clarification that the money has to be used specifically for the second bridge because of the efforts of our legislative delegation at the time. Councilmember Lynn?
Do we know how old that sewer line or that sewer pipe is under the channel? Do we know how old it is?
Mr. Hart?
I'm sorry. It's old.
I just asked the mayor. That's what he said too. I just wonder if we know.
I want to say 30 plus years.
So before, I know this is probably a stupid question, but before we had it out there, was there no built out there, or did we use a different method for using our sewer? I mean,
yeah, we had the Mulberry treatment plant,
okay,
and then the Island treatment plant. And so when the Island went in is when that piece of infrastructure came in.
30 years.
Yeah, the Island wastewater treatment plants are our oldest wastewater treatment plant.
How do we check that?
Been around.
Like, how do you check it?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at it. We'll be bringing in a firm. We're talking about several ways of doing that. One is to run a camera down through it. Actually, there's some devices you can use that will take it through and see what we see.
We ever checked it?
I've only been at the city 8 years. I'm not aware that it's been checked. So.
Right.
I also have not had any problems with it.
Fingers crossed. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was what this conversation came for. Is we've done a really great job of building redundancy in our freshwater system, and then how do we do it in our wastewater system? And this was an opportunity secondary to the bridge. It just was creating a potential pathway for redundancy. But we'll continue to work on that front, as Mr. Knudsen mentioned. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? If so, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record. Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Pam Swenson. I have a couple of questions. Councilman Lynn did ask, was this process going to be completed in time, or would we lose the funding? And I often know that grant money or however federal money does have timelines. And I do have a question with regards to that. Is that going to be impacted if we are delayed with this process because of the Coast Guard or any permitting whatsoever? That's my one question. The other question I had was with regards to the multi-purpose lane or whatever it was that you called it. I remember in one of the initial design conversations, there was going to be a third lane that could be used for traffic. If we had a lot of traffic going in and out, we could revert it to being used in either direction for the need. If it was for emergency evacuation, we could open up that one lane so that there were two lanes coming off of the island. And is this, with the design and the narrowing of the bridge, is that still going to be part of the design, or has that been eliminated? And what is that third lane going to be used for at this point?
Thank you. I'll take the money question, and we'll turn over to Mr. Hart for the lane section. So originally, when the legislation was first proposed, there was some initial language in some of the early versions of the bill that had to be used by a certain time frame. As you heard earlier today, Councilmember Moses, in talking with his associate from Arizona State Parks, they said we're working on a very aggressive time plan, and so we have the money already. That information or the wording was removed from the final bill that was approved and signed by the governor, and that's why the monies were remitted to Lake Havasu City. So we have no concerns that we're going to lose the money or that it'll be clawed back. With our current, we have trackable and traceable efforts that we're moving in a very rapid pace to show that we're moving down the road to ensure that. Now, if we are not doing anything, certainly anything is at jeopardy, but we've been working very, very aggressively, so we don't have concerns that we're going to lose the money at our current pace. And then John or Mr. Hart, on the bridge lanes?
And yeah, regarding the bridge lanes, there was in one of the preliminary sections a middle, good memory on this, a middle 10-foot emergency access lane. In order to get this project within the budget that was allowable, we narrowed the road, but we did widen the lanes. So there's not necessarily a clear 24 hours a day middle lane that's striped, but there is enough room that if there is an emergency for cars to move to the side of the road, closer to the curb, and still allow an 11-foot wide vehicle to travel on this road. So yes, there is room, but it's not a striped line anymore. Once you start striping, you got to go extra wider, and then it just, especially the width of the bridge increases, which really drives cost.
Thank you. Are there any other? Yeah, please.
Artie, getting to this point with the scene about a third lane or whatever it is, in some of the bigger cities, what they would do is close the traffic in the busy time of the day going onto the island. They can always close the island to leaving the island traffic. If we look into that, maybe put up some sort of lighting system where they say this bridge is closed for leaving. And I don't know if you guys have looked into that or what yet. So we can always do that inbound in the morning, outbound in the evening during certain times of the year when we're really, really, really busy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Collins. Yeah, that's a great thought that we can approach as we get traffic counts and have that flexibility.
Kelly Lutz, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm going to go back to a question I asked at one of the previous sessions regarding when it was the audit session. And they were talking about what the auditor suggested to do with the bridge money, and that was to put it in a separate fund. And I asked how much money had incurred over the years with that money. At the time, I think it was an annual estimate that she gave us, some $600,000. But the reality is that was $35 million that should have been incurring interest that whole time. So is the funds now in a separate account or a separate fund? And And is the interest actually pulled aside and put in that fund also? And what does that fund now come to with the money? I mean, just a balance sheet with the money that we spent, the money that we had, and the interest that's incurred. I mean, this is just basic, basic accounting. Where can the city manager tell us where that money is and what the fund is and what are we at right now?
Mr. Lutz, when you asked that question, it was during the annual audit that was being presented. And when Ms. Olson presented that, she responded that the auditor requested that the monies go into its own fund. And then you asked the question that you're presenting this evening, and she said that retroactively, all of the interest was moved into that account as well. So from the original $35.5 million, all of that interest was moved over to that account as well. Now we do pooled investment funds, is what Ms. Olson explained to us. So all of our investments are in a pool, and so they use an equation to ensure that the right interest for that $35.5 million was equated to that project. And then as far as the fund balance, I don't know, Mr. Olson or Mr. Knudsen, if you'd have it, or Ms. Olson potentially. We don't have it right now, but we can get it to you certainly.
Mayor, I just had sent it out in the go-to file that I sent to council for the update. So I'm trying to scan through that right now for an exact figure, but we're right at $3.5 million
in interest.
That's been collected on the $35 million or $35.5 million.
So that $3.5 million gets added to the bridge fund?
Yes.
So what's the total bridge fund at this point?
Well, we've spent money out of the bridge fund so that we can do a breakdown. I can share all that with you if you like, but $35.5 million plus about $3.5 million in interest collected. The contract that we've for NV5 for the design team has been spent, and some other small dollar amounts have been spent as part of that, but really gearing up for the bulk of that expense is going to be on the construction side.
So we're going to have basically very close to the $35 million, just under?
$35.5 million plus $3.5 million.
Minus this money spent for the engineering and development.
Plus we're going to spend money on engineering, design, development, and construction, and we'll get a balance down to zero at the end of the day. Yeah.
But you don't have an exact figure at this moment.
That is the exact figure, Mr. Lutz. $35.5 million was what the legislature provided to Lake Havasu City. It's been sitting in a fund,
right,
collecting interest on that amount. So add $3.5 million. I'll get you the exact figure here shortly.
$39 million in revenue.
$39 million, right. Okay. And then how much have we spent so far?
So you're asking me questions off the cuff, and I want to be more exact. I hate to sit here and give you estimates. Mm-hmm. The MD5 contract was for design, including the bridge design and all of the work that's been conducted right now. And I tell you what, Mr. Lutz, or anybody in the public, if you want to reach out to my office, I'll give you to the penny assessment of what we've collected, what the interest rate is, and what we've spent on the project itself.
Thank you.
Mayor, but your question was, is it sitting in a separate account by itself collecting interest, or is it in accumulated?
Yeah, that was my question. And go ahead.
We use pooled investment accounts. So
it's basically a pooled investment account is not in its own separate account.
It's in its own fund. We use different government fund. Government accounting is different. So it's in its own fund. And it's in pooled investment. So, and then we use And
then with that in mind, last question, since I have 26 seconds left. What investment is that in?
It's in the Arizona State Pool.
Is there Arizona State Patrol?
Yeah, through the Treasurer's Office. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
I don't want to talk about money. It drives me nuts. My biggest concern is this forced water main, sewer main. I don't want to talk directly to Jason, but I think that's a risk. It's an inherent risk, right? That's there today. We don't know the condition of that main right now, right? And I don't know whether it's concrete pipe, steel pipe, welded pipe, or whatever it might be. So theoretically, in the next 4 minutes, okay, that pipe could fail, right? And then the sewage goes in the channel. So I guess, we're not going to put it under the bridge, over the bridge, whatever. But I would think that would be somewhat of a priority to try and figure out what the status of that is, because it's a today risk, right? We know we've got an old pipe there. we've saved some money on the project. I don't know if you use the money you saved on the project, but from my perspective, that could destroy the entire channel for who knows how. I'm not saying years or whatever the case may be, but that would have a significant impact on the heartbeat of Lake Havasu, right? So that's where my concern comes. We know we got a risk. I think you have to mitigate the risk, or at least find out how bad it is. A forced main, it is a heck of a lot worse than just a gravity main. So please make that I'm not telling you what to do, but yeah, I am.
So yeah, Mr. Murray, it has been a priority. And so it was.
No, I'm not talking about that.
It was just very recently we learned we weren't going to be able to put it in the new bridge infrastructure. That was the solution. So there's now new solutions that we're going to be.
I get it.
Looking at.
All I'm saying is, the bridge is the bridge, right? But poopies in the channel aren't a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Murray.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
I have a question. I just had somebody text me and they said there's been forced mains through bridges throughout this country and over lakes. Is this true? And that it would be very important for us to really look at this, even if it means widening the bridge a little bit, and the long-term cost would probably save us. Please clarify what I just got. Somebody obviously is watching.
Yes, it is true. More than likely, those bridges are flat. So our bridge has a curvature to it, which creates a high point in the middle, which creates the need for a release valve. And we have seen release valves fail on force mains, and if we had one fail on the bridge, it would not be very pretty. So we talked about risk, versus, the risk is there. So we need to avoid that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Moses?
Nope, I think she was.
Okay, and so my only suggestion, and this has nothing to do with who is texting me, but it has to do with what I've noticed before is that you would just put another line next to it or nearby where it'd be a better access to, and start repairing that now and then be able to transfer over when that time came. Is that the direction you guys are looking into? It's I'm just thinking a water main. Usually on a main water lane, it's easier to put down a water main and get that one working and then shut down the one that was failing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, excellent suggestion. And that is something that we're going to be looking into. How best do we solve this challenge? And that is the best. And
okay,
I'm going to turn over to Mr. Collette.
Okay.
I heard we want to talk about dirty water, so I just got so excited I had to come up here immediately. The pipe under the channel has been there for a little over 20 years at this point. It will be inspected in the near future. We are already meeting with a company to determine how we will inspect it. Generally speaking, it means we're going to have to cut a hole on one side. We're going to have to drain it. We're going to have to stick a camera in there and go look at what it looks like. That's really the only way to do it. You got to put eyes on it, and that's the way we do it for the majority of our gravity mains. You guys have seen the camera truck roll around town. It looks like a big delivery truck. There's a camera in there. We have it on a little set of wheels, and we take pictures. It's the same thing for underneath the channel. It's a welded steel pipe, so it's not a piece of plastic. It's not a piece of concrete underneath there. We have every reason to believe it's perfectly fine. We would see pressure loss. We would see some sort of change in flows. So we have every reason to believe it's working fine. However, I was with everybody here. I wanted to put a nice new main in the top. Can't do that. It's an air relief valve, not release valve, just for those technical people out there that like the exact word. And the point is it burps the air out of the line, and you have to have it when you have a high point in the line. So when we're talking about a raw water line, I'm not worried about that leaking back on the lake. It is lake water. Effluent water and treated water are super high treated great water. We do not want to risk an air relief valve releasing in the middle of that bridge. It is not something we're even willing to consider. It was not just 2 years ago we had one of these fail due to a power blip, and everybody saw it on the 95. So that, just to give you a sense, that's the kind of thing we're talking about failing, except over water instead of over land, where we could clean it up and control everything. We can't control it. So bummer about that. There is a plan for the line under the channel. It is already in progress. We are already talking to the companies to get this done. We already have a preliminary plan to make the whole thing happen, and sooner rather than later. I don't know if I can beat the bridge guys, but I'm also not dealing with the Coast Guard. So I may end up winning that particular battle. So I hope that kind of puts everybody a little bit more at ease with at least the sewer part of this one, and why there is a difference in those particular projects.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
Mr. Kellett, so you said that the line's a little over 20 years old. What is the average life of that pipe?
Well, those kind of lines can land 30 to 50 years, depending on water quality and what you're dealing with. Even it being sewer water, in this case, they can go 30 to 50 years, depending.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor? Yeah, Mr. Councilmember Moses?
And this may be a bridge question, not a dirty water question, so.
Not to make up either.
Why can't this be a flat bridge?
Oh, that's definitely a bridge guy question.
Why is it forcing our hand to not be able to do the flat bridge and have the overhead sewer line?
Quite simply, the land on one side of the bridge is relatively close to water level, and the land on the other side of the bridge is relatively close to water level. And we need to make sure the bridge is high enough so that boats can go underneath. We have to keep 35 feet clear for boat traffic. So we have to go up and over, and there needs to be a high point in order to do that. And when you have a high point, like he's saying, you need to have a air relief.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Collette, thank you so much for the clarity, and I feel a little, and the excitement. Jenny got excited too with you. But thank you for the clarity. You feel a lot more comfortable. You guys are always on it, and I appreciate you so much.
All right, this is still a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Is there any additional questions or comments members of the council have? All right, this item was just for informational purposes, so thank you so much for giving the report, and we'll move on to the next item. All right, the next item is item 7.4, which is change order number 3 to the construction contract for the 2025 water main replacement project with Mountain High Excavating. Good evening, Mr. Hart.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. It's always a pleasure to come before you once again with a capital improvement project. Capital program managers get excited about that. This is our 2025 water main replacement project, which has been ongoing for quite a few months. You've seen a lot of the work out in the field there on Acoma Boulevard and some side streets. I'm coming before you with to present a recommendation of award or approval of a change order number 3. So the water main that we're proposing to replace, if you're familiar with current construction on Acoma, the data has been supporting the area between US 95 South and just past Jamaica Boulevard. And so that's what we concentrated on replacing because we knew we had a phase 1 project coming to pave Acoma. So we wanted to make sure that we took care of that. Recently, a change was made to make it phase 2 as well and combine them, which was a great move to actually get a better bid, which I'll be presenting here after this one, should the council approve this. So in order for that project to happen, data tells us that the Acoma Boulevard section between Industrial Boulevard and Bahama Avenue, that water main needs to be replaced prior to paving over it. We've had quite a few breaks in this particular section. The Water Division came to us and said, this is something that needs to be addressed prior to paving over it. So this is why we are bringing this to you. So our replacement criteria, in the past, we've had diameters, the type of materials, how many pounds per square inch the pipe is under pressure with, the break history, and the age of the pipe. Change order 3, with the potential award of the Acoma Boulevard paving project, there is a section of Acoma Boulevard that's beyond the current project limits of the 2025 water main. That data shows the water main needs replacing on Acoma Boulevard between Industrial Boulevard and Bahama Avenue prior to paving. And as you recall, Mountain High gave us a great bid to do the 25 water main replacement, which left some dollars over in the budget for that would be used to cover these costs. So this would add 50 additional contract days to this project. The anticipated completion, which would be June of 2026, which the way the scheduling is timed out on the paving project for Acoma Boulevard, it'll be getting complete just a little bit before, a few weeks before we actually get into this area to actually pave over. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Are there questions of Mr. Hart from members of the council?
Thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or motion.
Mayor, motion.
Councilmember Moses.
I move to approve and authorize the city manager to execute change order number 3 to the construction contract for the 2025 water main replacement project with Mountain High Excavating in the amount of $600,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to item 7.6, which is discussion and possible direction, request for qualifications process. Ms. Gary?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. After the last council meeting, it was requested to do a follow-up item regarding the discussion of the request for qualification process. Following the March 10th City Council meeting, and after further discussion and clarification with Councilmember Campbell, it was determined that with the next RFSQ process, City staff will include in the council agenda packet a summary of the evaluation rankings at the time the contract is brought before the council for consideration of award or approval. Attached to your council packet is a sample of that selection committee evaluation summary for your reference. If council has specific questions or concerns about the evaluation process, council can, at the time of the meeting, vote to adjourn into executive session to get legal advice on those questions and concerns. This process preserves the confidentiality of each firm's statement of qualifications while supporting a fair, competitive, and transparent selection process. There were 2 additional items that Ms. Campbell would like, or Councilmember Campbell would like consideration by the council for further discussion and direction. One was to create a requirement of the city that a selection committee required under Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 34603, must contain at least 1 outside contractor, architect, or engineer, and 2, for the city staff to issue a notice of interest to solicit contractors, architects, or engineers interested in serving on a selection committee. Under Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 34603, the members of a selection committee may be employees of the city or outside consultants. Also under the state statute, outside contractors, architects, and engineers serving on a selection committee shall not receive compensation from the city for performing this service, but the city may elect to reimburse for travel, lodging, and other expenses incurred in connection with the services on a selection committee. A person who is a member of a selection committee shall not be a contractor under a contract awarded under the procurement or provide any professional services, construction services, materials, or other services under the contract.
Thank you, Ms. Gary. Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, did you want to add anything to it, or?
I think it was crystal clear. Thank you.
Perfect. So the item all stemmed from, I believe, was it the second pool? Was that the item that when we were doing the request for qualifications that came through, we wanted to know how that was done. So I love the evaluation summary being included. I think that's fantastic. That's a great thing. It gives, as Ms. Gary said, transparency to not only the council, but to the public of how that went through. Should we have any questions, we can always go into executive session and get those answered to ensure that it's still a fair process for the contractor that we're being presented. We do this so infrequently. I think last meeting when we were having this discussion, I think we've done it, I'm going by my memory now, but I think 8 times in the last 2 years or something. So it's a pretty infrequent process. I would be a little concerned with setting up a requirement that you need to have a member of the public. State statute already allows for that to happen today. So it does allow for it to happen today. It can be a member, it can be employees or a member of the public, but it's not a requirement. So my thought on having a requirement, right now we have a board of adjustment, which is a committee or it's a commission of the council, and we appoint that person. So we appoint the board of adjustments. The Board of Adjustments does really important work when there's work for them to do. However, there's not always work for them to do. So they don't always meet. And so we sometimes have trouble when we need to schedule a Board of Adjustment meeting to get a quorum of people here. So I would recommend that we, in our next process, the next time we use an RSFQ process, that we look and see and bring a member of the public in and let them be a part of that process and see how that works. Again, state law allows that to happen without us having to codify it. But there's challenges to this. So not only does the contractor or the member of the public not be a party to the procurement that we're talking about, but they also might not have the ability then to bid on a project or the project or whatever it may be. It may preclude them from doing it. So I think we certainly have the summary tabulation in all of these. I think we, next time we do it, we have a member of the public join us and see how that goes. And if it all goes well, we can codify it at that time if that's necessary. But I do think that we'll run into issues if we can't find somebody. Now, if it's a requirement and we can't find somebody, we're slowing down the process. We're adding in additional red tape for people when we are just trying to go through the process. So those are my thoughts on doing this. I think what you've proposed, Councilmember Campbell, is very open and very transparent for everybody to see. But those are my thoughts on this item.
Mayor, in all due respect, I think I became a procurement expert on this, which I spent way too many hours, I think, not even being able to use the staff until later. With that being said, I did speak with Kingman. I did speak with the mayor, and your questions and my questions were completely different. So let's go there. Second off, they did agree this is a great process. I don't believe it's going to hold anything up. I'm not saying we have this selection committee that sits idly by and waits. All we're saying is anybody that would ever want to be part of this, have just a list of names that are go-tos that you can rotate out, nothing more, just so that we are ready when we say we want to do an RFQ. The staff can go, well, we've already had all these people over here say that they'd be really interested to volunteer their time as an outside contractor, outside designer. They're just volunteer. Well, I'm not saying they have to meet. They're not a planning and zoning. We're not talking about any of that. We're saying, we're just going to say, yes, I think that would be great. I think Campbell's idea is correct that having an outside person is important to the citizens of Lake Havasu, including the local contractors, including whatever it may be, if it's a pool architect or not. He's stating he's already saying that's not going to stop him from being on the bid process. If he says, I want to bid this project, obviously he's not going to be part of the selection committee. So I am disagreeing with you at this time. I've spent a lot of time and energy into this. And the point is the process was to be more transparent. And I think that's all I'm trying to do. And when we talked about the executive session, I thought that was a great direction for us. The pool is a good example of that. We had Martin Stansberry get up here and say, we, the council, should be more concerned that we turned away 2 local contractors because they didn't have an inside engineer. If I was aware of that before we hit a council meeting, or anybody up here was aware of that, and we get the sample in front of us and we see that they didn't even score them low, they just disqualified them. This is not a time that we start battling up here and tearing it apart. We go immediately into executive session to protect the process again. Moving forward, we go into executive session that we can then ask the staff privately, what actually happened here? Is this true? And then I guess we'd have to figure that out moving forward. But realistically, I have been studying this. My family has been contractors since 1974. There is a reason why I brought it to you guys back then. And it is for transparency, honesty, and openness so that we can see it. And there's a reason behind it, or else I would have never done it. Because I definitely don't want to go through this process again.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, I agree with all of the things that you said. The only thing that the form and evaluation, everything that you mentioned, I agree with. Open, transparent. The only thing I disagree is codifying the requirement to have an outside person. State law allows us to do it. I still think the next time we do it, we have an outside person. The person that they use in Kingman's the same person for every job. It's a person that does every single one. And he's, I don't know if he's retired or what his story is, but they also had a need back in those days for expertise that they didn't have, is my understanding. So.
And do you think that's a good thing that only one person, one contractor in Kingman is the same one they use over and over? Or do you think it's in the best interest and best policy for our citizens to say, hey, I didn't know I could be this. I would love to be on your list.
And that's why I don't want to put us in the same position. That's why I'm
not saying that's the case, but
I don't want that to happen. I don't think that's open.
Again, at any particular time, if they thought they couldn't find somebody, they can always come back to us. You know how long an RFQ process is? From the time that it starts to the time that it goes out to bid is very enormous. So we have only 2 weeks we meet together. If they came up and said, this project's coming up and we have nobody to do it, they can come to us in 2 weeks and say, can we amend it on this particular code? Because the state does say, and, or.
Exactly.
And
allows for
you
it.
can
Yeah.
and
Allows
bring
for
somebody or bring somebody. But I'm stating for the sake of the directions that I have heard from the outside, contractors and architects and designers, they want me to say, and do everything in our power to bring them to the table. The new ones that never thought. Look, we had 80 people at the last contractors roundtable. They want to have more. They don't want to be talked to the whole time. They want to tell you their concerns so they can be better partners with the city. And I think we're doing good stuff. So let's keep moving forward. I think I said, I worked on the agenda item for probably an hour and a half before it almost was even an agenda item, just trying to debate myself that I'm trying to do something that the contractors and the citizens are asking me to do. And it was disappointing how it all went down.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
So, I think the way it's written is fine at this time. And if we try it this way, I mean, we could always change. It's not etched in stone. We can never change it. So I think we try it this way. And if it works, it works. And if we have to tweak it, we come back and we do an addendum or amendment to it. We tweak it. But I'm good with the way it's written. That's just my opinion right now.
That's great.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Lynn?
I like the idea of bringing somebody on the outside. I think that we live in a community of over 60,000 people. We got a lot of retired people here. I know that there's projects going on, and I know that we have a great staff. They're educated, but sometimes they might not know something, and somebody on the outside could bring in that. I like this idea. I like this a lot. I wish we could do this on more, like form some kind of community advisory councils for certain projects. I think this is a really great idea. I don't think we're going to have the same person all the time. You got some people that have some knowledge on pools, some people that know some knowledge on parks. I don't know. But I really like this idea. I think it's great getting the community involved. It's not just for transparency, but it's including our community in this and helping out our staff on maybe something they don't know.
And again, just for clarification, state law allows us to do that right now. And so that's all I'm saying is that let's use the state law. And next time we do one of these, again, we've done 8 in 2 years, but that's my point. I just want to make sure that is clarified that I agree. Let's do that. Let's bring somebody in from the outside.
Can I ask a question? Have we done that though?
No, because that's until this item came forward. So we would give direction to do that now.
Mayor, we've used outside people on several occasions.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I was sorry for misspeaking. Not in a formal way, or how? Can you explain how that happens when you use someone from the outside?
Mayor and City Attorney Kelly Garriman can add to the conversation. So the state statute allows for different expertise in terms of general contractors or those that are experienced in those fields. And we've brought in individuals to sit on the selection committee from that aren't bidding on the project, but would have experience in that field or that project.
Can I ask a question? So when we brought people on the outside, was there a selection committee where a person was chosen, or did we just go out and select that person?
So that individual sat on the selection committee, shoulder to shoulder with the city team and others that are on that selection committee.
That's not the question I'm asking. When we selected that person to do it, did we just go pick somebody, or did we do a selection committee and then we decided to choose the person that would be, I don't want to say the most qualified, but would probably give us the most, maybe that's word, expertise on it?
Councilmember Lynn, are you asking how we selected the individual that sat on the committee? Okay. It's usually a pretty short list in terms of the folks that have the expertise in that area.
And so I think what Councilmember Campbell is saying, let's expand that list and let people know that we're looking for those people. I think that's what she's wanting to do. And I like that idea.
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
Yeah, thought a lot about it and even tried to engage during the last session. And the getting the score sheet afterwards, I thought was a good idea. I agreed with it. I thought I was proposing that at the time, but I know that was a long, convoluted conversation with a lot of confusions. But yeah, that was kind of what I was trying to get at. Like, yeah, let's bring the score sheet to us. It'd be interesting to know, and then we can see what's being omitted or how things are, how the sausage is made, so to speak. As far as requiring somebody be on that selection committee, an outside source, I could definitely see where that's a need, where you need an expertise outside of what we already have on staff. We already have a ton of expertise on staff, but there's every once in a while, like during a bridge or, there's something where we might need something outside of our lanes. So I completely agree with that. But I could also argue that in the effort of transparency, like that's what we're working towards, transparency. It's a big buzzword. That it actually becomes murky. It gets dirty. Like this is a group of builders and this is a group of people who work together all the time. And just because they're not working together on this project doesn't mean they couldn't maybe work together on another project, and then favoritism plays in or there could be people accusing people of choosing favorites. Like we're opening ourselves up to more scrutiny because I like that the staff has separation from the building community. Like I would be really, really concerned if they were having a relationship with with a contractor. And so the fact that we're kind of like bringing the hen into the hen house to guard the hen house, I see the argument that you're doing, that you're making, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm telling you that 100% it could be pay for play. It could be a multitude of unintended consequences if we were to allow this to happen. And there was illusion, there were things that were said last time of having counsel on there. And I think that gets murky. That gets potentially unethical. And so having staff decide who is the most qualified to help out on this given project, great. We still have oversight with the scoring sheets, and we can interject when we need. And so that gives us the appropriate amount of transparency and oversight that we're looking for without us getting in there and muddying up the waters.
Can I debate that one? I have.
Let's see if any other council members have something to say. Yeah, Councilmember Dolan.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I mean, the last meeting we had I was trying to speak at the end of it, but my microphone didn't work. But it was a really confusing meeting, like an hour, and the audience was confused. And it's a gold standard. Everybody in the state does this. Nobody in the state does this. Now Kingman does it. And if Kingman's the gold standard, I'm moving on from that. I love it. I love the fact that we are going to have the selection summary. I think that's great. It definitely cleans up some issues. I love that we have the experts in that. Unfortunately, we call ourselves experts on council. We're not experts. Like, we are 7 people elected to, when staff brings us to it, we're supposed to either vote yes or vote no, and we ask the hard questions. And if we like it, we vote yes, and if we don't like it, we say no and we send it back. But it seems like now in council, we're very much where I don't like that contract. Let's change that word, or let's. We want to sell the property, yes or no? No, I want to put this on there and put that on there. Well, it's not in code, but it's something I want. And I think we're really overreaching as a council, and we need to trust our staff to do what they do. And if we don't trust our staff to go through this process, then why do we have them and why are we paying for them? Because we are not experts up here. We represent the community, and we're the final check at the very end. Yes, we think you should do that, or no, send that back. And like I said, I get nervous. Like I said, we all trip over ourselves and who's the most conservative on council. But we just keep creating bureaucracy and red tape. And this isn't even like, if this is a case, like it's an action item, but there's no code, there's nothing. It's just, we just want to vote on something to give staff direction that like, why are we even doing this? Like, I just don't understand. Great. We fixed a problem. We had I'm glad we had this discussion. I think it's a great discussion. I think Councilmember Campbell has some really good points that we, staff has taken in, and we've worked on it, and we've fixed it. But why do we then need to make a decision as council to, staff, you go do what you do? And, if we're not changing an ordinance, why are we doing this? I think the requirement really locks us in the future. Like I said, what happens if we have to do a bid on a road and the Campbells are the only concrete company in the entire town? Does that mean we have to bring somebody in from out of town to do that, and we can't bid on anything up until we have that expert in roads? Like I said, I think we give staff, yes, we want you to have as many experts and do it, but if you can't find somebody and can't get something, or feel like we don't need one for this smaller project, then I don't know. I just think, once again, we're kind of overreaching a little bit, and that's my 2 cents. I love it. I think it's great. I just don't think we need action on this just to make a requirement, just to create more bureaucracy. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dolan. Are there any other comments from members of the council before we open the public hearing?
Yes,
Councilmember Campbell?
absolutely. Yeah. First, and I just want to clarify, point of clarification, if you're bidding on a road, it goes through a normal bid process. Thus, like you're going to see in the previous thing, there's going to be no request for qualifications on building repaving a road. There's not. Replacing a pipe, no. It's going to go out to bid. There's going to be a scope of work. That's it, number one. Number two, I guess what I'm trying to say, the expert in the room would say to you that our family have been approached by previous staff and told us, if you grade my lot over here, I'll make sure you have all the next bids going up. Now, I've been there. I've bitten my tongue. I know a lot more than probably, no offense, Jim, you probably have never been in my business, and I have, and I've seen it happen. And so as a council person here, I'm trying to say, no, the staff would not pick somebody that has even if they have to do a conflict of interest, they would. But the reasoning why I'm bringing this to you today is I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard it with my own ears. I have been sitting at dinner where one contractor is blatantly saying that he's really good friends with the staff, Jim. So, Councilmember Dolan, excuse me. So don't pretend that the staff never makes mistakes or isn't in the situation that you're assuming that our constituents, the people in our community, have been there, and they know that there's some corruption. I'm not saying today in this staff, I'm saying I've heard it, I've seen it, I've been at the table. That is why I brought it to you guys. Why the last council meetings got really mucky is because we didn't handle this process well. First and foremost, I got a first and a second. There should have been no further discussion. That's it. I asked to put an item on the agenda. I got a first and a second. Mute. We're done. Because of March 13th agenda item where you, Mr. Dolan, make the comment that I don't want people bringing up agenda items all willy-nilly and wasting the staff's time. So in return, the staff can't, if you put in first, you get a first and a second, you have to come back and present to you guys as a whole, but we can't use the staff. And that's what I did. And I think I did a pretty darn good job at it, considering I had to go to outside councils, outside staff to help me with this. And guess what? That went into a very muddy, watered, we should be ashamed of ourselves. Absolutely ashamed, because all I was going to ask is the majority of my council to accept the fact that I know something about this, and I want to fix the process, and I want to make it more transparent. And I want the citizens that were in the audience telling me we need to fix this if this ever happens again. That's all I tried to do. And then in what happened is I got accused of not knowing what I was doing and not vetting the project right. And then guess what? As soon as I finally, after 40 minutes, got the approval to move forward with this particular agenda item, I went to Kelly Gary, and guess what? Within an hour, we were all on the same page. So maybe, just maybe, we have a problem with the way we put items on the agenda. And maybe we need to look at that again. So there's my soapbox. I hope you enjoy it. I really think this needs to be do everything in our power to make sure that there's an outside contractor, designer, or somebody assisting with this so that we have eyes outside of the staff. I thought that's what our job was to be up here on council.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Dolan.
That's wow. If we have the corruption at that level, I think we should hire an outside company to come in and do an investigation. This fraud. I mean, wow, that's a lot that we just unloaded on. So, but I agree. If that is a problem, if we're trying to fix that problem, then let's really do something. Let's make a ordinance. Let's make a change. Let's do something, because that's what we as council do. We vote on the laws. We set the policy. Then if we have a big problem at that level, let's jump in. Let's fix it. Let's talk about it. If we're, like I said, if we were just, there was corruption at our city hall and there are people, like, I think we really need to investigate that, because but we make laws. We don't just, well, staff, I think you should go do this. Staff, no, if we think it's important, we make an ordinance. This is the law. Everybody needs to follow it. This is what you do. This is not what we're doing. This is literally, we're just directing staff to do something that's already in the law that we can already do. And we're doing it just so we can feel like we're fixing a problem. Hey, this is the problem. I think it's going to fix it. Well, that's your opinion as one of 7 of us on council. You're not an expert in that. None of us are experts in this. This is what the staff does. So I think it's great. I'm not against that expert. Let's bring that expert on. What I have a problem with is the procedure that we are doing with as council. We are trying to just insert ourselves and, I don't like this code, or I don't like the way this is worded in this contract. I'm going to pretend to be an attorney right now and take that out. No, let's do our job. If this is a big problem and it's in front of us, let's make a law, change it so everybody knows all the rules and do it. But like I said, that if this is a corruption thing at the city level, then that's a pretty big accusation to make. And I think we need to back up those words. So we either need to make a law or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dolan. And Councilmember Campbell, you just off of the mic said that it's not now you're talking about.
I said it before. I said it's not with any of the staff that we've had now.
Thank you. I think it's
I did say that we have been in the business for decades and we have seen it.
Yes. Yeah. So I think
we are fixing it. I thought this would be a nice little direction, little red flag that yes, we are paying attention, we do care, and we don't want any corruption at all. That is our job.
And I think from what I've heard from all of my colleagues on councils, we want to be open. We want to be transparent. I just want to reiterate one more time. Councilmember Campbell, you and I are saying the same thing. It's just the process to get it there. I think the summary form, I think the whole council, from what I've heard, agrees to have the summary there. It gives us the opportunity to have, not only for us, but the public as well, to have full transparency on how the scoring happened. And then we use a member of the public next time we do this, and we see how that process goes. And it's already allowed by state law. It's allowed right now. We do that. And then if we find a way that we need to come up with a selection committee, as you're suggesting now, for how do we do that? Because if we do a selection committee right now, let's say we have 15 contractors that come in and are on our list, and do we rotate them? Potentially when we get to the rotation that, this contractor that's next in rotation would not be ideal for this one because their expertise might be in this. And so how do you address all of those concerns? That's really all I'm more concerned about, is making sure we have the right people at the right time. And if Mr. Knudsen is telling us that they already use outsiders when necessary, now I think this conversation, what has occurred is that the council thinks that having outsiders on the panel is a good thing, and that's the direction we're giving to staff to do so. So when appropriate, bring in an outsider, and then if we need to formalize it into our local code at a future date, then we can do that. But that's really my point. I think we're saying the same things. It's just the pathway to get there is different.
So are you saying that we aren't going to be reaching out to the citizens and saying, hey, this is our process, and if you'd like to sign up, please just sign up, and maybe we will put you in the next rotation, whichever, but being transparent and honest. But honestly, I think the way it was written was good. I can already tell which way this is swinging, but I'm out.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying what my perspective is. There's no motion on the table right now for us to consider. So when after we open the public hearing here from council, we can.
I'd like to add one thing.
Vice Mayor?
Number one, I don't think I've ever sat up here and said that I'm an expert on anything. I don't think any of us have. So I kind of take a little offense to that. And then we can't bury our heads in the sand and act like everything's fine. It's working great because I hate to go back to that second pool, but it didn't work out right because there was some flaws in the system. And this is just trying to correct some of those flaws. That's all. So I think we have to, all of us get off our soapboxes sometimes and just do what's right for the city. And this is not doing anything that's going to get us in the weeds and muddy the waters and all that stuff. It's just, we make it way too more difficult than it has to be. So,
yeah. Thank you, Vice Mayor. And then I just one point real quick, Vice Mayor Diaz, with the second pool, the council gave that direction. So
Mayor, I'm talking about people that were declined because they didn't have an in-house engineer, and then the person we hired didn't have one either. That's all I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Good.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lynn.
I want to ask a question, but I want to ask the city manager if it's appropriate first. When is the last time that we had to use somebody for a selection committee on one of our projects? I don't know if you would know that, or can somebody? I kind of want to ask staff if possible. And I don't want to ask details, but is there a way that I can ask staff on one of our last projects where we had to bring somebody on the outside and how they worked with that, if that helped them?
Mayor and Councilmember Lynn, Lynette, can I put you on the spot or what that would look like in terms of a recall? I know on the courthouse project, we brought in outside expertise for that selection committee. I don't sit on those selection committees. I don't sit on all those meetings, but Lynette, do you, does that kind of put you on the spot? Do you recall?
Yeah, I just want to see, I want to see how staff feels about having that. I mean, I do you feel that it's beneficial to have that outside? Could we ask one of our staff?
Yeah.
I don't want to have this big argument about something if it's not even going to be beneficial to our staff.
I will turn on the microphone. Sorry. To be honest with you, we're fine either way, whatever the council's choice is, to be completely honest with you.
It's not answering my question, though. I'm just asking if it's beneficial to bring an outside. Is there ever been a time where you're doing an RFQ, what are we calling this? RFQ, where you have somebody that happened to be, that you brought out the committee that's giving you some information that you didn't know. We say we're not all experts, and we're not. There might be projects that you may have never worked on where somebody retired somewhere or worked in a different area and said, oh, well, I've worked on a bridge before and we've never worked on a bridge. Like, I'm just asking, like, is that helpful, or is it more like you feel like your toes are getting stepped on?
So in the RFQ processes that we've worked on in the last 2+ years, there's not been a project that we've awarded through RFQ process that we felt like there wasn't enough expertise in which to review the qualifications, interview the applicants, and award the contract to us. But I mean, we have team members that have expertise in many, many different avenues. You may say, for instance, bridge. Jason Hart, who you just heard from, spent most of his career doing project management and overseeing bridge stuff. So, right. I mean, it's one of those things where we're happy to comply with what the council wants. The system's been working, but if that's not what the council's desire is, we'll follow whatever you feel is the appropriate effort. But you're going to get, I'm not going to tell you, yeah, absolutely, never, we don't want outside help. the RFQs that we have done in the last couple of years, we've been able to manage in-house. And to be honest with you, I think we've done a fantastic job of identifying highly qualified contractors to do the work.
I guess it doesn't really answer my question. I just know that if when I'm doing something and I'm not really 100% sure, and even I think that I am, if I got somebody on the outside saying, "Oh, you should try it this way," like to me, I would value that expert. I don't have a problem with this at all. I think it's gotten really messy with personalities or whatever, but I don't think that this is a big deal to just ask outside. We have a lot of very intelligent people that are retired and want to use their time. And I think they would work with staff well. I don't think they would argue. I don't think they would offer favors. And I don't know why we're making this such a big deal just to add that in there. We can already do it. So just add it in there as an extra, look at it, some extra help. I don't know why we're making it bigger than it is. So I can see how this is going to go too, but, I really appreciate all the work you put into this.
Mayor, Councilor, the one thing I would say is that the person that serves on this has to have an active license, so it wouldn't be normally a retired person. So, I appreciate it, and we do have a lot of people retired, but they have to have an active contractor's license, or they have to be a registered architect, and that kind of thing. So. No big deal, though. So,
all right. We'll go ahead and open up. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? If so, just please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that statement about being a licensed engineer or whatever the case may be. We don't have a professional engineer running our public works department. Okay? And that's an insult to me. I no longer carry my documentation because I'm retired. That doesn't mean that the day I retired, my mind went elsewhere. I think it's a good idea. There have been issues out there, and I will be the first one to tell you, I worked in Chicago. If you want to work there and talk about corruption, it's there, okay? Did I hurt somebody's feelings? I hope not. There's also, corruption in Detroit, and I worked there also. It's the individual. It's the person. A lot of this stuff is going away, okay? You may get it at the higher level, of people in much higher positions, if you know what I mean. But we saw a lot of it eliminated. We put programs in place, an ethics program and things of that nature. I think the vast majority of people today are honest. They're not trying to get their pockets lined, okay? And especially at this level, okay? I think people want to help. Do it for nothing. Guys that retire like myself, I don't want anything in my pocket. I want to be able to say, hey, if you got a problem, give me a call. I'll come down and help you. I've already done that for the city. If you remember, Jess, if you remember, correct? Jess, yes. Thank you too much. Thank you too much, Jess.
Mr. Murray,
so it's all about helping, okay? That's what it's about, okay? That is what it's about. And if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings, you know what I mean? But I'm just telling you, a lot of this stuff has gone away, okay? Especially if you're a professional engineer, if you're a professional manager, you don't lose your job over this. We had people that lost their jobs because they were having things done at their houses, because they were taking money for whatever, okay? But it's up to you. Don't turn your back on somebody who's willing to come in and say, hey, I'm more than willing to help you. I don't want any money for it, because maybe you don't know what that person knows. So just because we're old and retired doesn't mean we don't know what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Koch.
Trying to get your attention earlier. I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
So, listening to what you were saying, so is it everybody I think is okay with having outside people on the committee, and I think that's fine, and going through and having all this attached with our council communication is good. But if not making it a requirement, could we just ask the staff and tell the staff to do, I mean, just say a direction of the council is from here on out that we'd like to see you do this and not have to make it a requirement to tie people's hands down the road. Like if this council, that's what they want and it works, then they can continue it, but without changing and just adding that word requirement, can we just ask the staff when they do an RFQ that we want that as part of it?
Yes, that's
I mean, it's already, that's what I'm saying. State law allows it.
Yes.
So if we ask and we direct them to do that, I mean, does it have to say requirement?
I mean, the real reason for like my thought on this is that we were moving 150 miles an hour on the pool. And then we changed direction on how we wanted to do the pool. And then we all of a sudden, it wasn't a priority to us anymore. So, which is fine. That's not a problem. Council gets to decide that. That's completely fine. But with us moving that quick, if we had a requirement for an outside person to be on there, that might have slowed down the process that we were pushing for. We pushed for that speed. And so now we are putting in another piece of red tape. State law already allows it. So I think that this conversation that Councilmember Campbell brought forward, it's great. Let's use outside people. If that's what we're saying. It's just, and not, instead of putting it in code that it's a requirement, it gives no flexibility whatsoever should the council want to move. And I heard your point, Councilmember Campbell, when you said, staff can just come back in the subsequent council meeting and ask for our approval for that one item. That's still potentially 2 or 3 weeks, that could be delaying the project when we're looking for something to move quickly. So, I'm fine either way. I think it's a good discussion to have. I think at the end of the day that the council has the information in front of them, with the scoring sheet, has the ability to ask any questions should they have them. And I do think having public is very valuable. I just don't know that we want to tie our hands in that respect. But if that's the will of the council, I'm not opposed to that, but I just think when you offer flexibility, when we have those types of projects or that direction from council, that's a good thing for us. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Dolan?
For good discussion, move to make a motion.
Sure.
I move to make no changes.
So we need a second on that if we want to have discussion.
Give it a second, but we're going to discuss about what it means.
Yes. Well, yeah, we can't have that discussion until we have a second to discuss.
Second, let's hear Jim's.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Dolan. We have a second from Councilmember Moses. What does that mean to Councilmember Dolan? A motion to not do anything?
Well, our item agenda, what we are officially, the suggested action is that we would be moving to direct staff to create a requirement. We sound like we're all for everything in here. It's just that the fact that it's going to be in, not even code. This isn't even a code thing. This is just us giving a strong wording to staff that you need to make a policy to require this, where we're all for it and we are going to expect them to do this. But if they can't get an expert, then it doesn't slow down the process. We can still do it. And I'm sure when it comes back before council, I'm sure our next question will be like, well, why didn't we have an expert on this? And they'll explain we either didn't need it or we tried to find one and we couldn't get anything in this area. And then it's back to council when we are going to make that final decision to pick that person or not. Then we're not locked in and we're not just creating another red tape policy. Because like I said, we're not approving an ordinance. We're just giving direction. So I just give direction that we just don't make any changes. I think staff has heard us and heard what we like. We all love it. We just don't like the word requirement. So we expect them to do their best to jump through hoops to get that, form the committee, follow the state law that's already there based on qualifications. Please go out and do it. But we're just not going to do that word requirement. We're not going to force that because I think it forces our hand and creates red tape.
Okay. Ms. Gary, with that description from Mr. Dolan, how would that be interpreted?
Mr. Mayor, I would interpret that we're still going to provide the evaluation summary. If there are any concerns that come up during that process and the council wants to go into an executive session at the time that the contract is brought to council, we can absolutely go in for legal advice. staff has heard and we understand that council desires to have an outside person on the selection committee when that is appropriate and when that is available. I would take Jim's motion that we just not make that a requirement. It is definitely a preference, and we've heard that from council. We understand that, but it's not necessarily making it a code change or in our policy.
All right. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses. Oh, Ms. Williams, got it. All right. Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-3.
Thank you. All right. The item 7.5 is construction contract for Acoma Boulevard Street Improvement Project to Pioneer Earth Movers, Inc. Mr. Hart.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, it's always a pleasure to come before you for the third time on a capital improvement project. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Acoma Boulevard Street Improvement Project.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Councilmember Campbell.
I'm recusing.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hart.
Sorry. So with that, I'm here to come before you with a recommendation to approve a bid for the Acoma Boulevard Street Improvement Project. It's a paving project. Just as a reminder, the project limits start down at US Highway 95 south and follow Acoma all the way through to US 95 north. The Acoma Boulevard Street itself is a street that is in need of repair. It has an average PCI of 51, which I'll get into in a minute. Just as a reminder, this will be a rotomill project in which we come in, rotomill 1.5 inches off the top, and then we come back and pave 2 inches onto the surface, 2.5 inches, excuse me. Again, it's with a very nice product. So the project description, it was Acoma Boulevard was identified as a street with an average PCI of 51, therefore warranting rehabilitation. This project consists of road milling 1.5 inches of asphalt and replaced with 2.5 inches of compacted asphalt. The project schedule is 120 days. Anticipated completion is in August of 2026. Just as a reminder, the budget is over 2 fiscal years, $6.9 million total. 5 bids were received. The low bidder was from Pioneer Earth Movers Incorporated for $5,902,266. Should council choose to award this project, the anticipated start date would be May. I'm actually told May 4th, which is great. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So on this project, with it being over 2 fiscal years, and if the start date is May 4th, how does that look? Which way are we starting? And
Yes, we'll be starting on the south side on the US 95 South there near Mavericks, and we'll be working our way towards north up to all the way to industrial, which is where the previous change order that was approved would be occurring. So we would envision the first 2 months would be essentially half the project, which takes us to McCulloch, and then the second in July and August would be from McCulloch down to the Highway 95. So it should work out really well.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the council before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item?
Hi, I'm Pam Swenson. I have a question. You're going to be changing the elevation of the street by doing this because you're reducing it by 1.5 inches when you do your preparation, and then it's going to be a 2.5 inch height after. Is that correct?
It's going to be 2.5 inches compacted.
Compacted?
Probably bring us down to about 2 inches, and then we feather it in to match the curbs and such. So
So how is it going to be the transition at all of the other streets? Is it just going to be feathered down?
Yeah, it'll be blended in.
And how's it going to affect the hydrology?
We're not changing the subgrade, so we're not reconstructing the road and tearing up the subgrade.
What about the hydrology at the other intersections?
It'll be just as it is today. There'll be no change.
Even though the surface elevation is higher?
It's half-inch higher maybe, so it's not going to affect it. Based on my experience on past projects, we haven't seen that affected it.
Okay.
That's a good observation. You're sharp.
I work for roadway design engineers.
Wow.
Thank you, Ms. Munson. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or possible motion. Vice Mayor Diaz?
Before I make the motion, I want to really thank the Campbell family for saving us millions of dollars on this. I was really impressed on this price, because I was expecting it to be a lot more. But anyway, I move to award the construction contract for the Como Boulevard Street Improvement Project to Pioneer Earth Movers, Inc. in the amount of $5,902,266.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Diaz, a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, I have a few comments about this. And I was going to have these comments even before the previous meeting item. But I've had growing concerns for quite some time. Before I even got on council, people told me stories that Ms. Campbell alluded to earlier that I needed to be careful of. And I said, you're crazy. I was a fan of the Campbell families, the big fan, still am. Dub Campbell said words that changed the trajectory of my life. Like, I heard a quote and I'm like, yeah, I want to emulate that.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think this is appropriate. I don't think this is appropriate.
Yeah, Councilmember Lynn, let's get to the root of what your comment is.
For sure. So this isn't a personal thing. These are things that I've witnessed over the course of my career on council. I've been when we bring these things to our contractors, and if something goes wrong with these contractors, we need our city manager to be able to negotiate with that contractor to get it done and get it done right.
Councilmember Moses, what this particular motion that we have on the table, please?
No, absolutely. I'm going to speak my piece here. I have witnessed the issue with the bridge, and when the bridge wasn't done right.
Mr. Mayor, this has nothing to do with
this. Has to do with the contractor in question and my objection to the contractor. I'm explaining my vote. How can that city manager hold this contractor accountable when one of his bosses is telling him that it's actually your fault? Or when she is going around to other council members and advocating for that contractor? She's done it to me. She came to me with these concerns. She's accused staff of fraud, and then she's also
Councilmember Moses, yeah, we need to
literally in a council meeting, she advocated, she took credit for advocating for a change order on her own project.
Yeah, no, we need to go to vote. Yeah,
so we're going to go. I can no longer support anything that comes before this council. For that, I have.
Okay, no,
I have deep concerns.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Diaz. We have a second from Councilmember Lynn. We are ready to vote.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know sounds like we're censoring. I mean, if someone wants to say something, they should say something. Is there anything in the city code that says we can't talk about this? I mean, I would think if we want to rush the vote, there's a technical way to say it.
I don't normally have to gavel down for council. So what is occurring is we have a motion on a particular item, and certainly any council member has the ability to make any comments that they want on that particular motion, but we need to stay within the narrow scope of what the motion is. So we currently have a contract for construction on Como Boulevard. We do have that motion. We have a second to that motion. Any council member member again can explain their vote. I'm not censoring anybody. I'm not saying what you can or cannot say. But once it deviates from that, we can't start talking about other projects and other things through that process. So, all right. So again, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Diaz, a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries with 5 council members voting aye, 1 council member voting nay, and 1 council member recusal.
Thank you. All right, item 8 is our call to the public. This is an opportunity where citizens have to address the city council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. We ask that if you come up that you directly speak to the city council. You'd go to the podium over here. You don't have to sign up, but we did have one resident sign up. So Nikki Curley Garrison, if you would like to make your way to the podium, and then after that, we'll open it up to anyone else that would like to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Nikki Curiel Garrison, and I'm here tonight because I'm asking for your help and for accountability. Arizona law is clear that pets are personal property. Under Arizona Revised Statutes 25-211, animals are considered property. Additionally, ARS 12-940 through 12-944 govern found property. These statutes state that when property is turned over to a public agency, it must be held for a minimum of 30 days before it can be disposed of, especially if the owner is not yet aware it has been found. I was hospitalized out of state at Loma Linda Hospital from April 4th through April the 8th. During that time, my bird, who I have raised since he was a baby, was accidentally let out of my home. A neighbor found him and did the right thing by bringing him to the Western Arizona Humane Society so he would be safe until I could be located. At 4:40 in the morning on April 9th, I saw my neighbor's post about my bird. I immediately responded and informed both my neighbor and the shelter that I was coming as soon as they opened. When they opened at 7:30, I was there to claim my bird. I was then told that my bird had already been sold. This happened within days, not 30 days. There was no published notice as required for property over $150, and there was no reasonable effort to reunite me with my property even after I made direct contact. I also confirmed with law enforcement that our city's animal ordinance defined an animal as a mammal, bird, reptile, or amphibian, but that was from a 2018 city ordinance. The updated ordinance says that an animal is defined as a species susceptible to rabies, a definition to which birds do not apply. Only mammals can get rabies. Birds are considered ives. Yet my bird was treated under the same rapid disposition policies as stray dogs or cats. I contacted city leadership. I contacted the police. Despite this, the Humane Society maintains that they followed the law, and I am here to tell you they did not. This was not just a mistake. This was the taking and rehoming of personal property without due process and beyond the law. This was deeply cruel. This bird is not just property to me. He was a gift from a dear friend who passed away shortly after giving him to me. He talks, he knows over 1,000 words, and he is part of my family. I'm asking this council for 2 things. First, help me get my bird back. And second, review and change city policies so that birds and other non-rabies species are not subjected to the same rapid rehoming timelines as stray dogs and cats. No one should lose a beloved animal this way, especially when they're actively trying to reclaim them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council call to the public? Yeah, please.
Tired. I don't know about the rest of you. I'd like to say goodbye to Gabby. Gabby and I met 2.5 years ago. I don't know if I can turn around or not, whatever. Began the big debate about LED lights and metal halide lights and all kinds of different lighting down at Rotary Park. It continued on. I think it was one of those cases every time she saw me, she goes, oh, here's Tim again. He's going to ask me another question. But she did a great job. She helped push this thing through, along with other people. But I want to wish her the best of opportunities in life, okay? Not sure about stuff. I think we need to do, when you lose a person, you've lost an asset. People are worth things. People have value, okay? they bring something to businesses that's so important, and you're investing a lot of money into them. I know whenever I lost a person, or either through a retirement or whatever, there was a hole. And she's done some great things down there. A lot of changes have been made, and I wish her all the luck in the world. I would really hope that we're going to go back and take a look at what could we have done different to have retained her here. Because she is a great person, and she's a good debater. And you know me, I love to debate with people, you know. But she did a great job, and hopefully she'll find happiness wherever she's going. Whatever her reasons for leaving here, that's up to her. But as we move forward, I hope we look at hiring somebody in that's a professional. We need the best of the best for this community. The community is growing. The community has a lot of needs. And I just think the council's got to take a look, you know, what could we have done better? What could the city have done better in this situation to lose a valuable human being, okay, such as her, okay? And what do we do better? What do you do better? What does the city manager do better? What does the assistant city manager do better? To prevent this from never happening again. You don't like people. People are great things. They're great, you know. They're great to talk to. So I'll try and get down to this ceremony of cutting the ribbon for whatever this ride is. Maybe I'll even take a ride on it. You never know. But maybe that's her last hurrah, as it might be. But I can't turn around, but I will see you as I walk backwards. Good luck to you, and I hope the best for you. And again, I'm going to close this with, I was a master electrician. I had my certifications, and I'm proud of it. And just because I don't have them now doesn't mean I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. I'm not a bean counter. I'm a master electrician.
Would anyone else like to address City Council during call to the public?
Good evening. My name's Craig Geary. I'm coming to you here tonight as the vice chairman of the Keep Havasu Beautiful Committee. And I'd like to put the word out that next week, Thursday at 2:45 p.m., if you guys want to get away from the mad crowds up on Main Street and $1 million boats, we're going to be working with the city to plant some trees out at the island softball fields to celebrate Arbor Day. This is an annual thing we do. We donated some money for the irrigation. We're working with this Public Works Department too to get trees. And we're also working with the Parks Department, the after school program. We're going to have 20 kids come out and help us plant trees in the afternoon. And this all goes towards the city. They won the Tree City USA Award again this year. Some staff members are going to Phoenix the following day to receive the award, the state capital. But it's a really good time. It's for a good cause, and we're continuing with our mission to landscape the whole island trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Geary. So that's next Thursday, the 23rd of April at 2:45? 2:45 p.m. Perfect.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council during call to the public?
Patrick Willett, resident. It came to, well, somebody informed me that the apartment building going out there in the parking lot behind Walmart, between the cinema, theater, and Walmart, that property was owned by the city. And I was just trying to clarify some of that. And they said it might have been sold for $1 to the developer. Okay, that's what, I see the head shaking, but I was just trying to get, I know my wife works for, what do you call it? The housing and stuff like that. And some cities will do that. They'll sell a property to a builder to put in affordable housing and stuff. And then on the backside, they get money on the other end. So I was just trying to get some clarification. Somebody gave me misinformation, and I take it by the head shakes.
Yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, we can have a two-way conversation during call to the public, but you can stay afterwards and we can give you some information, but we do not sell property for $1. That's not a thing we do. Would anyone else like to address the city council? All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. The call to the public. The next item is our current events. Are there any council committee reports? All right, future meetings. Our next meeting is on Thursday, April 16th, 2026 at 9 a.m. It's our budget and CIP overview, a work session. And then again on Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m., we'll have a regular meeting. Item 11, are there any future discussion items? All right, item 12, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here. Be kind. We'll see you next time.